Hey guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also click the bell to get all of our notifications. Hey guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also click the bell to get all of our notifications. Hey guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also click the bell to get all of our notifications.
Start over. Hold on.
Well, on my other computer here, it says this video has been removed. Okay, I'm gonna.
All right. Sounds like they can hear bits and pieces of some things.
Okay.
Well, while you work on your audio end, if they can hear me, I'll go ahead and explain who I is. I'm just a little bitty nobody. I started Southern Ohio prepping a couple years back to help educate my friends and family on the idea of being prepared for any and all emergencies. Recently, we nicknamed ourselves APES, Advanced Preparations for All Emergencies. So me and Gil were apes. So if you want to talk about us, just call us apes. We'll answer. Sounds like they can hear bits and pieces of some things. Hey, there's audio.
Okay.
Well, while you work on your audio end, if they can hear me, I'll go ahead and explain who I is.
Yeah, I got it. It finally came back up on the other one. I had to go in 3 different times to get it to come up. Can you hear me?
Don't forget to make sure your mic volume's turned up on the input.
Okay. Well, mods, this is Gil. Can you hear Gil?
Yeah, they said they can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm Gil, a Camppatton Family Compound. And why I know anything about this is I just retired as the Emergency Management Coordinator for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And what I did is I wrote tactical response plans. Of course, the CDC said, no, we're not to that point yet, when they should have said, yeah, well, it's time to roll out those plans. But that's neither here nor there. What we have up here right now showing is the Roy Labs stats database here. It is probably the most accurate one that is on the web that we found. And as you can see, the United States is now on top. We have passed China. It says we have 85,689 cases and 1,292 deaths and 713 recoveries. Now, those numbers can be a little bit misleading and intimidating if you don't know how to apply them. I'm going to bring up a little spreadsheet here I use. Let me see if I can get it up here and make it full size here. So basically, these are the numbers I just read off. They're in here. I started this out back at the beginning. I started tracking the MARS, SARS, the swine flu, the bird flu, and what the percentages were on that and how it went. Basically, for the swine flu, we had a 4.7% death rate from that. So that tells you how that goes. And basically, most of the seasonal flus run between 2.9 and 4.9, depending on the year. So right now, today's number, yeah.
Bill, one second. To answer your question, who actually knows someone who has this? Me. My son has all the symptoms of it. They told us we can't get tested until he actually gets worse, and then we go to the hospital. Then he'll get tested. He has all the symptoms. I spoke with a nurse for about 20 minutes on the phone. He is to be isolated and quarantined. That's why you don't see him running around. Continue, Gil.
Okay. So today's date down here, this line down here is today. The 16,466, that's how much we've increased over last night's number from 11:55 p.m. last night. So we've gone up today 16,466. Now, I got a couple different death rates over here. I want to explain what they are. So if we take to figure out what a death rate is, you have to take the resolved number and divide it into the number of deaths. To get the resolved number, you have to add the recovered number and the deaths together gives you the resolved number. Then you divide that into this, and that gives you a death rate. However, this is going to be a good point here. It takes 2 weeks for a person to be documented as recovered. And if I'm looking off to the side here, not at the monitor, because at the camera, I have 3 screens going on here. So if we took it just straight across, it would have a death rate of 64.4%, which is way too high. But if we do what's called a 2-week off shift, which gives me this one here, and what it does, it takes today's recovered and goes back 2 weeks and takes that death number, adds those two together, and gives us this 754. Now, dividing 754 into that 41 gives us a 5.4 death rate, which is about where it should be. That's where Italy's going. That's where a bunch of the other countries are at, and that's where it's at right now. However, back at 2 weeks ago, the numbers were really low in comparison. And so as this moves forward, this number is probably going to climb upwards to 20%. And then at the very end, when this thing's all done and said, and it's gone, and everybody's that has it is resolved, it'll probably come back down. I'm thinking it's going to come back down to about a 9 something.
All right. Does my sound better, you guys? Can you hear me on the Zoom side of things?
Yeah, we can hear you in here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you on the Zoom side.
Everybody in YouTube land, can you hear me now better? Hope so. One of the things tonight, guys, is that we don't want to scare anybody, but these are some of the facts that are coming out here, and I think it's a lot of great information that we got going on here.
All right. Did anybody have any questions about my spreadsheet here?
All right, now people are going to say and they can hear me. Okay, good.
Yeah. So in using the spreadsheet here, it took me a while to get the formulas right, and I had to call back to my team because I had the original spreadsheet for this back at DHS, and I had to get the formulas back from them. So
it's kind of if you think about it, guys, it is as of today we topped China, Italy, and everybody else for the death toll right now.
In the city of New York, just the city itself has more confirmed cases than 92% of the world. Just put that in your pipe and smoke it for a moment.
I'm going to go ahead. It doesn't look like there's any questions on this, so I'm going to drop this down. And just to show what Dave was talking about, I'm going to zoom in on
I'll bring it back, guys.
New York here. And this is the Johns Hopkins University Medical Center site. So I'm going to zoom in on here and bring it over to New York and zoom in a little bit more so I can actually sort out all the red dots here and find New York.
The U.S. has measles.
All right. This is just Nassau right next to New York City is at almost 4,000. New York has 21,873. And so that puts everything, the United Kingdom and below on the left hand, it's not showing up on the screen over there. But basically, the only ones that have more than New York City is Iran, France, Germany, Spain, Italy, China, and of course the rest of the U.S. So every other country has less than New York City does. That's something to be concerned about. But then
Absolutely.
you also, but hey, New York Prepper, it's some areas of New York City, it's like a sardine can walking around, isn't it? Especially on the subways.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't live in New York City, but I'm probably about, I don't know, 2 hours away by car. So it's basically right in my backyard. And a lot of people where I live, they commute to New York City. So they drive down there, they take the train. It's pretty far, but people go down there and they work there. And yeah, it's crazy. I've worked in the city myself, and if you go on the subway at like 9 a.m. or 5 p.m. right in the peak rush hour, I mean, you're literally just like shoulder to shoulder with everybody else, and like somebody else's face is like 6 inches away from yours. It's just like everybody's packed in, and that's what really concerned me was in the beginning of the outbreak, the mayor, he kind of delayed taking action on it. And that's what really made me upset because I knew how bad it is down there with the congestion. And the mayor who happens to be a very hardcore Democrat, he delayed doing anything about it. And now all of a sudden he wants to lock the whole city down and do a forced quarantine, to fix his mistake. And it's really unfortunate.
Lori's RV and Life, he's using the John Hopkins map.
And the Roy Labs.
You can find that just by typing in John Hopkins, CVDC or whatever it is there. I'll show it to you.
Kathy will probably drop a link for it too.
I just dropped the link for it.
Okay.
Which one's Kathy? Dave.
North Star Prepstetter.
Okay.
She's the queen of the mods.
I just made her one, so. Yeah, I guess we got a few trolls in here. I figured we would on this one, guys, so just do what you guys do.
Yeah. So I just put the link for the John Hopkins one in there. In a minute, I will throw the Roy Labs one up. But on the John Hopkins one here, as you can see, I can go around and click on. It's doing some cities and it's doing counties for the most part. Because if I take it back out a little bit here, and I take it to the West Coast to compare the West Coast to the East Coast, the King County, where the big start is only at 1,577. They've slowed down. In California, Los Angeles County is at 1,229. And let me zoom in here on San Francisco. Believe it or not, San Francisco is only at 223 because they jumped on it and they started, really doing what the rest of the country should have been doing. And because they have a subway train, it's called BART. It runs all the way out here past to Antioch, where I'm circling on the map there, and it comes all the way down here to San Jose, comes up the other side through Fremont and everything. It goes all the way around, and it is, it's shoulder to shoulder at commute time, and I'm amazed that the numbers aren't higher out here. But yeah, I mean, it's like my county where my wife is at in California. I'm in Idaho right now, but her county has 131, and that's Contra Costa County is considered a bedroom community for San Francisco for commuters to work. But as you can see, you can do a lot with this map. You can find wherever you're at here. I can go over here. Salt Lake City is at 178. Go over a little farther to Denver. Denver is at 262. You can just go across the United States and over here to see if I can take it out a little bit, get back over here a little bit quicker over here to Chicago. 1,418. Milwaukee, 314. Get up here into the upper reaches up here by in Michigan. You got 1. You got 1. You got 7. You got 2. You got 4. So areas where it's more spread out, the numbers are a lot lower because people aren't so close. There's a natural public distancing, and we don't like to say social distancing because social distancing implies that you're also not being social with anybody. We figured it's better to say public distancing because when you're out in public, you want to have distance, but you still want to be a social animal on the phone, on YouTube, on Facebook. Still be social, just distance yourself physically from people. So that's what this map here is. And the other map, go back to it here, is Roy Labs. And there's the link for Roy Labs. And this is, like I said, this is the most accurate one, and it updates constantly. And in fact, the numbers have updated here since we started a little bit. I think, oh, no, it hasn't. Sorry, I was looking down at China for a second there. And
the nice thing about using Roy Labs is if you look over here in the bottom left, you'll see update times. You'll see also severe and critical, and it'll show you when that province or state or city, or not city, but country is going to update again, or when the last update was. As you can see, it doesn't show an update from the US, so that US will be updating probably within the next 5 minutes.
yeah.
Guys, don't forget too, is share us out on your network, share us out, tell your friends, tell your family like we always do, and we want to give you a big thanks for coming in here right up front. And these guys got a huge and a lot of information, and this is why me and Tyler wanted to bring this to you guys so that you guys could get the best and most accurate information out here. And these guys have been doing a lot of work to get this together. So
yeah. Now, it's also neat about the Roy Labs on this section right in here where these charts are going. It goes through and shows different things on the charts. It'll show another one which I really like. You'll see this graph going across the bottom whenever it brings it up. This is where they get their references and some of their data from. They show where they're getting data from. So, but they'll run several different graph bars over, and you'll see it as it gets closer to the current day, how everything's going ballistic. Or if you've a Top Gun fan, it's we're going vertical. But yeah, there's provides a lot of extra information over here. You know, right now it's showing countries and it's showing the different colors for different things. But yeah, it's a very, very good map. You can glean a lot of information if you watch this channel. Just watch what's going on here. And this runs live 24/7.
Cute comment there, Saint. That's also a myth. That's not true.
Yeah, the other thing, guys, that I wanted to give you a little heads up to what these guys are talking about. Obviously, Ohio Prepper's talking about dealing with his son. All right, so you guys that are on my side of things, you know, I've been fighting this I've been off of work now. This is my 3rd week because I still have a cough and my work doesn't even want me to come in there because I might drive somebody into a panic. So I had to go to the doctor back on the 23rd to get a work release to go back to work. And this is what they said to my work. It says, due to the overall abundance of tests in the queue at the state laboratories and rotation of tests to the hospitalized patients, we are unable to test for the red dragon at this time in the outpatient setting. So all they're doing is if you're not in ICU, if you're not in critical care, having some kind of respiratory issues, fevers, you're not getting the test. So these numbers that these guys are showing you, it's probably higher.
Okay, let me address his comment here. Just learned that most red dragon patients have red pink eyes. Okay, do you know what happens when you lose air? The blood vessels are the first things that start to expand in your eyes. Okay, as you have more and more difficult breathing, and any medical technician that works in a hospital will verify it, as you start losing the ability to breathe, the blood pumps harder and faster, trying to get blood to where it needs to go. And the blood vessels in your eyes will start to expand, causing so-called red pink eye.
And
so that's
tell them about
somebody may have heard that, but it doesn't cause pink eye.
Tell them what you were told to me about the cough too, because that's not listed in most of what is out on a social media
right
now.
They say dry cough. Well, having talked to more than one medical physician, and I've actually had Doc Bones and Nurse Amy on my channel twice discussing this, one of the things that people experience, the cough starts off rather innocuous, it's just a but about the 3rd or 4th day, it feels like you're coughing through glass. If you've worked around fiberglass, or if you're somebody that's been in the military and with your NBC training, you'll understand this statement. It'll feel like you're breathing the tear gas in and out, not just out, but in and out. It is very disruptive. And if you lay down, you'll think you're doing okay, but as you go to sit up, it's like getting punched in the lungs, not the chest, but the lungs themselves, making it extremely difficult to breathe.
The other side effect too is the itchiness on your skin and on your body. They're not telling you that out in the social or in medias and on the news and stuff, but you do get it. You don't have a reaction, but your body and your upper face itches.
One thing I want to say, I don't know if you guys heard, but they actually had to do a full lung transplant on somebody in China. I don't know if you guys heard that. It looks like you did, but it kind of the media missed it because they were so hyper focused on the virus and the numbers and stuff. But they did the world's first double lung transplant, and that's kind of scary. I mean, if they have to replace somebody's lungs, I mean, we're not dealing with a regular flu here,
Yeah, there's many misnomers, many myths about this. I've been tracking it since the middle of December when a doctor in Ground Zero came out with a video, and he also made mention of the fact that it was airborne. So I've been tracking it for a while, and like I said, I've talked to more than one doctor. I get an email from several different places around the world at least once a day if anything major needs to be reported, so to speak. Other channels also put out the information, so I don't need to reiterate it because they are bigger than I am. They have more followers, so I let them go ahead and do it. But I always keep track of the information, so on my streams or on my Discord, I can let people know what's going on.
And Dave, tell them about the cruise ship. I thought that was really interesting because no.
Oh, you mean the fact that the cruise ship, the very first one, the Diamond Princess, or Doomed Princess, if you will, they got everybody off the ship, everybody off, all the employees, all the people, all the food, all the stuff that's perishable or needed to be used in a certain time period. Everything got off the ship. They went through and disinfected the ship. It stayed at dock. 21 days later, they went, and what a weird name, 21 days. They went back in and checked it, and guess what they found? Live cultures still living on the sheep.
Wow.
So
21 days later. Wow.
Yeah, it's airborne. They found it inside. All right, most of them have air ducts up at the ceiling. Most ceilings on those are about 8 feet. Okay, I can reach 8 feet, no problem. I stand 6'4". I'm shrinking in my old age. And I can reach those. Well, the average person can't. They found 2 feet inside one of those air ducts live cultures, proving back in the middle of January that this was airborne. One channel put it out over the air, and within 20 minutes of them putting it out, that entire news segment was pulled off the air.
Wow.
As far as NSAIDs go, if you get the fever and the headache, don't take NSAIDs. NSAIDs are a type of pain reliever. Go homeopathic, natural remedies if at all possible, or tough it out, which may not be the case for some people. All initial reports state that NSAIDs, and that includes your high-powered painkillers like Vicodin and the other ones in that junky crap, actually cause it to be a lot worse. Well, I'm a little jaded. My son lost his mother due to a fentanyl overdose. So I'm very jaded. What am I saying? I'm very jaded toward that stuff. So, yeah, if you get a fever and headache, don't take regular Tylenol or Excedrin or none of that stuff, Midol. Find something that's natural to help you take it. One of the things I learned from a Vietnamese person many years ago, back when I was a wee tiny little guy, was you take your hand here, and on this opposite side of where your head's hurting, you take and just rub the webbing between the thumb and the first finger, and you just sit there and keep relaxing that back and forth. You'll get rid of your headache.
That's smart.
That's from acupuncture is where it's from. So there are ways.
Have you heard anything about like gargling your throat? I know there's a lot of talk about, gargling with salt water or mouthwash.
No, neither one of those kill bacteria.
Okay.
They'll kill odor-causing bacteria, but those are living organisms that are naturally in your body.
Right.
So just eat a breath
One thing
mint.
on the edible side of things here, you can use ginger. Ginger does fight fevers and that kind of stuff, and it has some antibiotic properties in it also. But after he told me that today, that was the only thing that kept my fever down. And when we were taken to the hospital, one of us were actually rushed to the hospital. The other one drove ourselves there. They were giving us Tylenol and ibuprofen, flip-flopping them to get our temperatures down. So when he told me this today, I'm like, holy moly. Kind of scary.
And mind you, what I'm saying is actually verified in other countries. Sad to say, but this shouldn't surprise anybody watching this channel. Our government isn't telling us everything.
And so the information's just not getting passed out to all the medical practitioners that needs to be coming to them.
Yeah, they're keeping them in the dark. I think they did that on purpose. They wanted to minimize it as much as possible.
Well, they're doing that for the financial worries because is Peak Prosperity put it out a video out today that he explains it quite well. If you do it to protect the population, the economy is going to crash. If you protect the economy and all the people get seriously ill, guess what? The economy is going to crash. No matter which way you do it, we're going to have economy problems. If
Right.
the very first thing, if we'd have done what like several other countries have done, massive testing right off the back, initial quarantine the country away from all other countries, and tell everybody, put a mask on your face when you go outside, a lot of our people that we have issues with right now would not be issues. They would be healthy at home, but they healthy. I'm not saying we wouldn't have any cases, we would, but we'd have a whole lot less.
Yeah.
So
One of the problems.
when you go to the store, folks, I do it. I've actually got a video of a trip I made to Walmart. Gloves, mask. If you got glasses or goggles to put on, put those on and protect yourself. Keep hand sanitizer with you. If you're going to use the little wipes that they use or offer at the store, you can't just wipe off your handlebar or your cart and call it good. Those take 5 minutes. And if you read the bottle, it'll tell you it takes 5 minutes to kill bugs on those carts. Okay, I actually have stuff that's from a veterinary clinic that I take with me that takes only 30 seconds. Okay, the stuff ain't cheap now. Since I bought it, it was $20 a jug. Gail went and looked for it. It was almost 60. And the last time I looked, they were selling for almost 100.
Yeah,
So
I saw the same stuff at the local feed supply store here, and they wanted $75 a gallon for it.
yep. Well, see, I bought it in the white form so I can actually put some in a bag and take them to the store with me.
Yeah. You know, one of the problems that I've noticed with the information going out on this, it all started back when the CDC was saying, "Oh no, it's nothing to worry about. There's nothing you need to do. It's going to be way less, dangerous than the flu, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And then the CDC was also passing that same information on to our elected leaders. And then when things started changing, then the CDC started changing their tune a little bit, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And nobody believes the CDC now because they looked at them and say, "Hey, you were lying to us the entire time." And yeah, they were, because some of my compadres back at DHS found some memos that weren't supposed to be found, but that's for another story. But the problem is, you got people out there in the public now, both young and old, who are still listening to the original thing of, "Oh, it's nothing." And my mother-in-law is one of those ones, and she says, "Oh, I think I was exposed a week ago when my wife went down to help her in the garden last Saturday." And she didn't tell my wife this till after my wife had been in close contact with her for most of the day. And my wife was supposed to come here to Idaho next week because my daughter here in Idaho is going to be going in to give birth, and she's supposed to be helping out. Well, she can't come up here now because she has to quarantine now for the next 21 days.
It's really crazy what's going on. And then also today, I just found out before we started a live stream here, they were talking about the stimulus package that everybody's waiting for might not get here until May.
Yeah,
I heard that
over
too.
3 weeks.
Yeah. So
Because they got to vote on it in the House, and somebody in the House is going to throw a hissy fit, so it's going to have to go back to the Senate. Then it'll go back to the House. Then if it passes there, then it goes to Trump, who will fast track it. But what they're not telling you is you'll get it quick if you already got a bank account set up with the IRS for either payment or receiving funds. You'll get it quick. If they got to write paper checks, that could take an additional 2 weeks, because guess what? There's not very many people in that office.
yeah,
The
Right.
very first bill that they tried to pass had no provisions for disabled, the elderly on SSI or Social Security, had nothing for retirees, had nothing to do for veterans. That apparently has been changed from what I could read of it. I was reading a government website, and halfway through it says, "This page is no longer available."
imagine that.
Well, I probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. Let's just say that.
Yeah, there is some packages coming out. I mean, if you guys are into a bind, be up and honest with if you have a house payment or something like that, or you got a mortgage company. There's a lot of people that are working with everybody on this. The deferments. If you have car loans, truck loans, so talk to your local whatever bank you go through. They are working with people to try to give you a little bit more wiggle room on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and also, sorry.
no, Prepper
Also, if
Camper, he
anybody,
says that he says America still thinks this is just a normal flu.
yeah. If anybody has a student loan, I know a lot of people that go to like college. I have a student loan actually, and they're forbearing student loan payments. So if anybody out there has a student loan, you can go to your student loan provider, and you don't have to make any payments for now. They said at least 90 days. So that's a good couple $100s of money that you can save, especially if you're unemployed now. Or so I'd recommend you guys do that.
Yep, go file for deferment.
Yeah.
The worst part is we've got a lot of people in some cities going around, and they're the younger generation, the so-called generation that's going to take care of us old people, which I don't expect it. I don't count on it. They're screaming at the top of their lungs, to heck with the old people. It only kills them. They're not reading the current report. It is now up to 52% of cases are between the ages of 19 and 49. 48% of the cases are 50 and over. So that information is not being shared extensively like it needs to be.
Yeah.
These young kids actually need to have the fear of God put into them by the news, mainstream media going and showing the hospitals filled with young people on ventilators. Then maybe they'll get the point.
And the thing is, so on those percentages, I think it's what, a quarter or a 0.5% are those that are under 18.
Yes.
Yeah, if you guys remember that scientist or the doctor in China, he was only like 34 years old.
34.
Yeah. Was it what's that?
He died he had it for 3 weeks and then passed away.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about a doctor. I mean, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to protect himself. If you saw the pictures, he had like 5 masks on. I'm sure he was taking precautions, and he still got it.
Yeah, he's the one that came out on December 15th with a video stating it was airborne, showing cases. And as I decided to turn around and decide to record it, it disappeared from my feed, from my YouTube history. It was gone. Then in the middle of January, it came out his local police department said, "You can't do that. You must take it down and write a written apology saying you were trying to spread fear." And then he passed away.
Yep, that's right. I remember that. What do you guys think about chloroquine? I was wondering if is there a conspiracy with that? I mean, I hate to go into conspiracies, but
There's misnomers.
No.
There is misconceptions, but it's not a conspiracy. The problem is there's 3 types of chloroquine. There's regular chloroquine, which is toxic to the human body. There is chloroquine phosphate, which is used for cleaning the inside of a fish tank, extremely toxic to the human body. And there's hydroxychloroquine, which is a malaria drug. It blocks the ACE2 inhibitor, the ACE
Right.
in our bodies. Our bodies have an ACE receptacle, and the red dragon has an ACE receptacle mimicker. And so it says, "Ooh, see what I found?" and bites it. Well, the hydroxychloroquine actually blocks that ACE2 inhibitor, or ACE2, so it inhibits it.
Right.
And that, in conjunction with a Z-Pack, has produced promising results in other countries. But with the news putting out, somebody took chloroquine phosphate, and they're trying to scare people away from it. So
Right.
Mr. T says, no, that must be a bad idea then. No, it shows promising results in other countries.
Well, what I meant to say with the chloroquine with the conspiracy is, because somebody said, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but the company that makes remdesivir, Gilead, they supposedly they also make a lot of the chloroquine, but and there's already a lot of chloroquine on the market. So a lot of people were saying that basically they want to, they're not going to make any money off of chloroquine. Let's just put it that way, because it's widely available and it's cheap. So they would rather, they'd rather push the remdesivir, which they're going to make a fortune off of, right?
Remdesivir is also more expensive, and Israel is sending a bunch of hydroxychloroquine over here.
Oh, wow.
I'll leave that a discussion for that for my channel, because that gets to know a more biblical aspect.
It's crazy that what they're all doing here, guys, and it's as these guys are talking and the charts that Gil's been throwing up here, you see that it's climbing. And you guys, I know we've been doing this for a week now in my live streams talking about this, and we had a lot more questions than we had answers. So tonight, throw them up there in a chat. Let's figure this out. We can get through a lot of these things, and there's a lot of good information. Some of the words that Gil told me when he first came on here, the crap just hit the fan since I talked to these guys as far as what's going on and the changes, how fast things are changing. It's like my work's telling me every time I call in is their stuff that they're supposed to do is changing daily. They went from now, if you have a cough, you're quarantined for 7 days, 14 days, you can't come into work for 14 days if you cough out on the floor. Hand sanitizer. They got hand sanitizers everywhere across the shop, so that you can wash your hands and do whatever you need to do. So there's some places that are really trying to, for those necessity businesses that are open, they really are trying to make it so that you have a safe place to go to work. And I do appreciate that. But I'm at a lot of the boat like everybody else. I've been off for 3 weeks and I'm sucking funds from all different directions to make ends meet. So we got to get back to work.
Hey, Gil.
Yeah.
Why don't you share that little GIF I sent you a couple days back?
Okay, give me a second to find it again.
The other thing I was going to tell you guys while he's looking for that is Tyler sent me a picture probably 2 weeks ago with the Simpsons. It was episode 26 or season 4 or something, but right in the picture it shows the coronavirus. And now this was back in 1993 that this aired.
Word spoken.
Oh, yeah. Bad boy.
Here you go, folks. It's not going to animate it. Oh, there it goes.
Know what that is. That is defecation making contact with a rotary oscillator, also known as SHTF.
Well, see, that's not the first time that they've predicted stuff like that. If you guys go back and you guys watch, certain parts of, if you kind of type in some of the major events that's kind of happen all over the world, you'll kind of see like the Simpsons predicted it years, sometimes 10, 11 years before it actually happened. 9/11, Trump becoming president. It even gets to the point where it's like right on the money with like when President Trump met with the president of Egypt or something like that, and they're standing over the orb, and like it was just so clear, and that's crazy. Something going on.
Well, everybody's internet too has been going goofy all day long. So
part of that is because you got all these kids that are at home having to do school online, so the internet is getting overworked to the max.
Okay, there was a question for me back here. Let me go back and find it. There it is. Saint Gang. What about quercetin and zinc? I probably murdered the first word, which is normal for me. I have not seen any results on it. I know they're testing it in some areas, but I have not seen the results yet. As soon as I do, I'll post it in my Discord channel. So if you want to find it, you're going to have to join my Discord channel.
You know, what's some of what everyone's been saying about things, being foretold and stuff. Interesting thing is probably the number one expert in the world. Let me bring up his bio here, but I can get it to come up. Okay, this guy, Dr. Professor, PhD, blah, 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 blah. Michael Osterholm is an internationally recognized expert in infectious diseases, I always butcher that word. Epidemiology. He's a Regents Professor, Knight's Presidential Endowed Chair in Public Health, the Director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy, Distinguished Teaching Professor in Division of Environmental Health Sciences, School of Public Health, a professor in the Technology Leadership Institute, College of Science and Engineering, and a adjunct professor in medical school at the University of Minnesota. Now, interesting thing here, the bottom line here, his book, Deadliest Enemy, Our War Against Deadly Germs, came out several years ago. In that, he has a scenario, driving the point home of what would happen if something came from China. That scenario and real life are almost identical in timeline and the way it's going on.
All right, Miss Kathy, North Star Prepstetter posted a link to a podcast, a recorded podcast here on YouTube with Joe Rogan. I personally don't care for Joe Rogan, but I did watch the one with the doc here on it, and it is very informative. So if you would like a deeper understanding of how this works, go watch that podcast. You can like or dislike or whatever, but the doc does give excellent information.
Dragon says here, he says there was also a book by Dean Konatz over a decade ago that tells the very same thing being released in the very same Chinese province.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The interesting thing is that this professor had his information up there. He's who the other countries have been contacting and asking help from. He in his interview, he says one of his jobs is whenever there's an outbreak, they call him in as a forensic epidemiologist to track down patient 1 or patient 0, whatever you want to call it. And he gets called in for numerous things, and he's been very busy with all these other governments calling him and trying to get information from him of what they need to do.
So yeah, there's a bunch of people in a chat here. Yeah, Gunslinger in Quebec. YouTube is having big time issues, and I don't know if it's the point that they're just getting bombarded with stuff that channels. We were talking with NYPrepper last night because his was getting hit. There's a lot of people that are talking about their videos aren't getting out. They're getting shadow banned. They're getting shut down. I seen a lot of people this morning that were just shut down. So YouTube's not doing that. So if you guys can, please share this all out on your social medias. Tell your friends, because I see that a lot of people, even though we tried every which way, we tried on our social medias to post it out and everywhere we could to let people know that we're doing this. Because I knew this was, everybody was asking about this specific live stream that we're doing tonight. And I see now that some of the people are just coming in saying, I didn't even get a notification that you guys are doing this. So,
yeah. Well, what's going on, I found out too, is, and YouTube has put this out, is that because they're in a mandatory shelter-in-place county where YouTube is not listed as a essential service. So a lot of their people are not allowed to go to work. So they have minimum staffing there. So they're letting the AI run everything. I mean, hey guys, basically they turned Skynet loose, and it's playing with the email notifications. It's, here's a word and it, demonetizes a channel. It does all sorts of weird, funky things. Oh, it looks like you got a good one there from Dragon Stallion, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Dragon. He is my big supporter of our channel and other things. So thank you
Ooh.
so much, Dragon, for kicking us a super chat. That is awesome, buddy. I appreciate it. Everybody that does donate to the channel, we really do appreciate it, especially in the time we're living in now. It's great because we actually do want to help each other out, and that's why we brought these guys up here tonight. Is because these guys are all about helping others out. Okay, from Tyler, from New York Prepper, you've got Dave over there, and you've got Gil. So, guys, from my side of things, if you guys don't have these guys' channels, they'll put a link down in their description. Please go and check them out. They have some really, really good information over there, and YouTube likes to hide them because they're telling you the truth.
You know, I noticed after my last week, after my last two big ones on this, it all of a sudden, all my videos, usually I could look it up and bang, there's my newest video there. And even before I was going live, it'd have it. You just type in Camppatton Family Compound on a YouTube search, and boom, there it was. Well, now it's showing my 3 videos back, and then you got to go into my channel, and sometimes you got to click onto my videos to find my live coming up, and it's like, yeah.
Sorry about that. Photos from Rachel. Yeah, Streamlabs it's even got goofy there. I turned stuff on the other day, and things just wasn't in the same spot. And I see now that they're even got a list of things here. So bear with us. I'm trying to catch Streamlabs from making oopsie mistakes too.
Mm-hmm. The best way you can help Mark out during this this live stream, don't use the V word, don't use the C word, use Red Dragon.
Yeah. Especially, guys, if you want to come back and watch this, because I'm sure these guys have a lot of information. New York Prepper hasn't even started with the information that boy's got in his head. So
yeah,
there's a lot coming up here. So stick around. You're gonna want to pay attention to what's going on. I know me and Tyler, we've been talking for weeks about different things and of who we're going to have up here and to help you guys out. So there's going to be a lot of great information coming on here tonight. So don't be jumping off and running away, because it's going to get good. Like I said, some of us haven't even started talking yet.
Yeah. You can see right here. There's a one chart here. You can see the comparison of increase of deaths and the increase of cases.
Mind you, there's a delay from the time you say that to the time they actually see it. So
yeah, I'm watching it. It comes up when it goes over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the and just these charts are very interesting if you follow the dates and look how the numbers are going on some of the cases and stuff, especially when it compares the United States with the others, with Italy, Spain, Germany, and France. They're going. Italy was going like this, and ours is going right up to it. And sure enough, we passed it. Boom.
So we just had one of our guys from Michigan just pop in here. Gil, you want to go back and show the Michigan charts?
Oh, Michigan. I have family and friends in Michigan, so I monitor that pretty hard.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah,
if you look over here, Gil, if you look over here where it says total deaths, look almost at the bottom and right there, Wayne, Michigan.
Wayne, Michigan. Oh, yeah, right over here. Okay, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Over on the side here. Yeah. Okay. 26 deaths for Wayne, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th for the U.S.
That's just in the deaths. Now, of course, anybody from Michigan will state that Michigan has a whole bunch of rural area, and the UP is very rural. Sometimes your closest neighbor is 5 miles away.
Yeah.
So the bigger hits are in the major population areas: Detroit and its suburbs, Lansing, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Battle Creek, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti are the ones that are going to see the biggest hits first.
Yeah. Kalamazoo has 10.
I didn't know if you guys saw
Ann Arbor over here in Wayne County, it has 1,389. usually for most of it goes by counties. Oakland County, 668.
I don't know if you guys saw it in the chat. Bernie was in there. He said that North Carolina is doing a lockdown here this week yet.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one. But you look at some of these places here. You got 2 cases, 3 cases, 3 cases, 6 cases, 2 cases, 1 case,
Berrien County.
1 case. You get out you're getting way out here in the rural area, and the cases there aren't that many cases out there in the counties. These are counties. So,
Yeah, I know.
but when you get down towards the crowded urban areas, that's where the problem begins.
Problem is where he's at. He's actually got to worry about driftage from Chicago, Michigan City, Indiana, and Elkhart and stuff like that.
So while Dave, you're talking about the drift, let's get into some of the things with the jet stream now and how this can actually carry through, because there is so much stuff out there that has been misinterpreted, said wrong, totally wrong. So does anybody here know if this can be carried through the jet stream? Does this?
No.
Is it
No,
capable of that?
No.
No. Okay.
It would have to.
I mean, I would think that
Go ahead.
It would have to find some way of getting up to the jet stream, and it weighs more than just our air particles. Yeah, it can blow around like snow, but snow's not going to blow all the way up. It's just going to blow around and settle on the ground.
Well, we have the big winds that come through, and it scoops right around the lake. And, Tyler was up here, and he said we had 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds here. And that, in the wintertime up here, that's pretty normal for us.
Mm-hmm.
The
only thing you would have to worry about with the jet stream in conclusion or correlation with this is the temperature. This thrives in cold, but sadly it doesn't die in the heat. It just kind of goes dormant, which is why they're having an issue with it now in the warmer climates south of the equator. It's starting to explode down there as well.
What were you going to say, Greg?
That's why a lot of the experts, which some of them aren't experts, they have a doctorate, but it's in engineering, not any kind of medical stuff. And they're saying, oh, it's going to be okay when the heat gets here. No, it's not. There's no direct correlation as of yet in the numbers to say warmer weather will put a brake on this.
Yeah, I think the only thing would be the UV light. I mean, the higher sun angle and the longer days may help. But what I wanted to quickly say was, even if it got into the atmosphere, would the virus be able to survive the extreme conditions up high? You're talking about minus 70 degrees, would that virus survive? I don't know.
Well, they've found virus samples of various different kinds. They've found skin-eating bacteria in Arctic cores and Antarctic cores that once it got warmed up, it came right to life. But it didn't feel solid. We're talking.
Wow. So we got another one in here with Big Jern. He says, "Can you guys talk about worst case scenario?"
Oh, Big Jern. Big Jern's from my channel. What's up, Big Jern?
You want me to put my tin hat on, or you want me to give you facts?
Facts.
Yeah, facts, I think.
Facts, worst case scenario. They open the borders in all the states. People continue to ignore the warnings that are being put out. And your truck drivers finally say, I'm going home. To heck with this crap. And the trucks stop. Well, then your stores don't get no food. Well, then the government tries to hire truckers, which will be people that really don't know how to operate a truck in the first place. And if you've never driven a truck, please don't sit there and say it's an easy job. I did it for 30 years, which is why I have neck and back issues. They're not going to be able to handle up trucks. It's not easy driving an 80,000-pound missile down the highway at 70 miles an hour. You can't take your mind off it even for a half a second, or you'll kill somebody. So when the trucks stop, the stores stop. When the stores stop, you better be able to armor up, because there are going to be people trying to bang down your door and take what you got. That's the facts of the situation. They've done numerous studies with people more brains than I have, and Gil's had to read those studies in order to come up with the plans that he had to do in the past. That when people don't have food, they panic and do things they normally would never do. Whether there's a rule of law or not, they're going to do it because they need to eat. They want to feed their families.
And
Which brings up another point that y'all need to be aware of if you're not. There are masked clowns, and that's because they're wearing a Tyvek suit. They got a mask on over their face or a respirator, and they're wearing sunglasses and beanies. They're coming up to the houses or driving up to them and saying, hey, we're from the CDC. We're here to check and see if you got the virus. Once they get in, they steal things from you. They hurt people. And you'll see me constantly looking around. I've got security cameras monitoring every entrance where I live. Of course, I got 2 other computers over here trying to keep up with everything, but I'm not taking no chances.
That's why I'm looking off to the one side here. I got on one of the monitors, I got the picture-in-picture of my CCTV system going up as well.
All right,
and I'm out in the boonies.
And guys, the reason why that Gil is sitting up there, if he wants to, he can tell you where he used to work for. There's a big reason why that we go to him for questions. I think he's getting the hat.
This is where I used to work.
So.
Oh boy.
So there. That's why I said is I went through and I got you the guys that actually have done the research for months to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, part of this really ticks me off. As you know, I was the emergency management coordinator. I wrote tactical response plans for earthquakes, fires, floods, wildfires, hijackings, IEDs, and persons with infectious diseases and pandemics. If my TRP that I wrote had been followed back on January 3rd, all flights from China would have been stopped. But the CD said, "Oh no, we're not to that point. This doesn't fall into that. This is not that type of a virus stuff. It's not going to be that like that." Well, I'm not going to say who. The demon rats in the CDC were the ones who were screaming that because they wanted to make our president look bad. And there is a document that has been found where they had an inter-office memo talking about that. But that's the silver hat thing that most people don't want to talk about. So, but there were plans in place to deal with this, but people quote that were in the know because they had a job at the CDC said, "Oh no, we don't need to worry about that. Those plans are not instituted when they should have been." And I'm pissed.
North Star, can you do me a favor and run Dave's channel in here also? I know he's been talking a lot, so that he can get some exposure in here too. That'd be good.
She has been.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think too, when they go back and they're asking, worst case scenarios, depending on how it all plays out, if the virus keeps continuing and keeps growing, as we keep getting further along, more people panicking. I think, this is just what I believe in, and kind of what my game plan would be, is if it continues the way it does, they are going to enforce martial law. I actually have a wife who's in the military, and she just got active today because of all this. And I think if it keeps getting worse, is that they're going to declare some kind of martial law, a government lockdown. I believe that like most of our Walmarts and some of our major outlet malls and stuff are going to turn into FEMA camps, where they're going to more than likely probably go through records, if not already have records, of those who've been in the hospital for like the last 3 months with any kind of flu-like symptoms, where they would go in and probably extract those people who are deemed not to leave their house. In panic doesn't help either. People running out and buying cases and cases of toilet paper and all the meat up in the store. I think in a situation like that is knowing your location, always having a bag ready to go, and not just a bag to get up and leave, but a bag to also get home. And as far as, the most people think, oh, I'll carry 3 or 4 ARs and 20, 30 rounds of magazines.
Not realistic.
Not realistic. One thing I plan on always keeping with me in my vehicles or on my bag would be an air rifle. I know that sounds crazy, but the ammunition for an air rifle, like a 1.77, is super cheap. You can get it everywhere. They make special rounds. They make subsonic rounds. A lot of people don't know you can take down deer, elk with a air rifle with the advances that we have now with our air rifle systems. I think Mark was saying, what is it, at 75 yards, he was shooting plywood and would go right through. And in the military, that's considered a dead shot.
It's you got to have it's a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood at 100 yards, and if
100 yards, yeah.
that's considered a kill shot.
Crazy.
So,
Yep.
And
And
those,
you don't play a lot. There's not a lot of maintenance to do on them. If you're trying to be stealthy, if you have a bug out location out in the woods, the last thing you want to be doing is just firing off rounds left and right, trying to get deer, squirrel, rabbit, whatever you want. Air rifles are so quiet, and it's just amazing, especially, like I said, with the advances in the ammunition. I mean, I picked this up for $4. There's like 500 rounds in here for, game.
Yeah. There are some really cool advanced rifles. I mean, there's one I am particularly fond of. I want to get so bad. The company's called Air Force, and the rifle is called the Texan. It has an air cylinder on it that you have to either pump up from a special 3-stage pump, or a compressed air tank. That you get from a scuba shop, to 3,000 pounds. It'll fire a 75 caliber slug at 1,200 feet per second.
Holy crap.
Yeah, there's videos out there on it, the Air Force Texan, and there's this guy goes hunting with. He hunts deer with. That's what he doesn't use a regular rifle anymore, because it's so much cheaper to use these air rifles than it is to use a gunpowder rifle.
That's just like the Dragon. That's a 50 caliber air rifle, and you can shoot actually compound bolts through it also, so you can use arrows or you can use a 50 cal. And the person that sponsored us for our 7-day challenge, he makes those things. That's what's pretty cool about it. So air rifles have come tremendously a long ways. I mean, mine is super accurate. You can do so much with them. The attachments that you can put on them nowadays, and they have very little kick to them.
And they're not considered firearms.
Yeah, so that just blows my mind. I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
don't give them any ideas, dang it.
Yeah, I know.
I haven't got mine yet.
That's what happened in England. That's why the air rifles became so popular down there, but they actually governed the feet per second and how much pressure they can shoot, because they figured out, hey, these things are really, really accurate. So if you guys don't understand what we're talking about, there are tons of videos out there on YouTube land of these air rifles in the UK that they use for hunting, all kinds of stuff, and how far they'll go. I've seen 44 mags. I've seen the 50 cal slugs. I've seen them all already. It's amazing what these things can actually do.
Right, and like I said, I see people in chat too talking about like M4s and stuff like that. I got a closet full. I'm not gonna go online and tell you like everyone how much guns I have. I have quite a bit, and I used to be that guy. I go out and shoot my AK or my AR, and I'd hear about people playing around on their air guns, and I never took it seriously. I never put the thought behind it. The versatility and how much ammunition you can buy and carry on person, and that's not going to slow you down as far as carrying 12, 15, 20 round magazines with you. When you can carry stuff like this, 500 rounds in one pocket, you got 1,000 rounds in your pocket and you can barely fill it. It's going to get you food. It's, to me, it's not going out there like, like Rambo out in the woods with a machete and 2 machine guns. My thought process is being quiet, sustain food, especially for people who have a family. Like if you have a younger, if you have a son or a daughter, you got to think about their lives too when you're out there. And you don't hear too many people think about that when it comes to,
Right.
dealing with this kind of situation is you can talk, like, I'm a survivalist. I go out and I do survival series. I go out and survive in extreme cold weather and extreme hot weather. But at the end of the day, when I have to take my daughter out there, who's just 2 years old, I have to consider how she's going to be dealing with it. So that's
Right.
my thought process behind it.
And there was a subject that we were going to talk about that I talked with Greg, and that is the things that women need in this time and age. We, as men, we get food, we gather everything that we think that we need. So if you have that family, make sure that you have stuff for your children. Make sure that you have stuff for your wives. The extra necessities that they may need. Because that's really important on this whole subject, is that if stuff does turn, and it's the way it's projected to turn as south as it's going to go, sometimes we might forget about that kind of thing.
On the subject of bags, I have several videos on my channel, and they actually have their own playlist of different bags. And one of the things I did is a thought exercise on inch bags. So if you want to go take a quick peek at that one, that might give you extra info and ideas.
And also when it comes to the whole air rifle things too, if you do run out of ammunition, if you hunker down in a certain place, in the woods or whatever it may be, how easy it is to make little pellets. I mean, and the vast stuff that's out there for you to make it out of is just incredible too. A lot easier, and dealing with like 9mm, 40, 5.56, whatever it may be.
And actually, guys, right here, these are called sniper magnums. So what Tyler's talking about, these are the heaviest lead that is out there right now for the .177, and that is 14.97 grams. And these are subsonic rounds. One of the things that you'll notice is that some of these high-powered air rifles will actually now make a crack because they're breaking an air barrier. So you can slow that down, and you still got the punch behind it using something like this. Just got to remember, though, all ammunition just by weight. Why they give you that weight is because you're going to have to adjust your gun. So if you find one that it likes to shoot, I would keep that in mind.
And also too, when it yeah, go ahead. I lost my train of thought.
I froze the slide here. I just noticed something on these graphs here. They've pulled the United States off of it. The United States was on this graph, and because this line here, the top one going up the highest, that's Italy. Well, we passed Italy, and they pulled us off. They pulled the United States off that graph, but we were over here. And we came up and we went nearly straight vertical here and passed Italy. So it's climbing exponentially, folks. And you want
3 days it doubles.
Yeah, I mean, look, here, I'll put this back up again. All right, these numbers over here, this is a 24-hour increase. So back here on Monday, it increased 11,000 over the day before. Then we had a little respite on Tuesday. It only increased 8,000, but then 13,000. And now it's increased 16,600 over yesterday. And we still have another 3 hours to go before I lock it off at midnight Mountain Time. So, yeah, it's probably going to go up. We'll probably hit 86, no problem, tonight. So now that's not fear. I don't want to say fear. This is something to realize. This is what happens when you don't do your public distancing, where you don't wash your hands, where you don't take care. And so the people on this side chat and stuff,
property,
I expect you guys are all very smart and are realizing, hey, okay, I need to wash my hands. When you wash your hands, it's not a quick wash. You need to sing the alphabet song twice. You wipe down stuff. You got to make sure that it stays on there. If you're using spray Lysol, you don't spray and wipe. You spray and let it sit, so it can kill the stuff. And give it 30 seconds or so before you wipe. And some stuff, it's even longer. You got to look on the can how long it says it takes to kill the
Mama Z
virus.
Just asked. There is a. It has passed China. We have passed China. Yes, we have.
Yes. Here, let me drop it again. Yeah, we blew by China today.
Yeah.
Actually, at the same time, we blew by both Italy and China in 1 hour. It went right by them. So there's our number there for the U.S. There's China's, there's Italy's, and it goes on down. And like we said earlier here, the United Kingdom is at 11,000. New York City's at 21,000.
In New York City's huge. Yeah, it's like a European country at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you think a lot of that has to do with the fact of the subway because the subways are still running?
Subways, bus lines, all the public transportation there is packed like sardines. You cough, and if someone sneezes, they've covered 15 people with particles from their sneeze, because
Right.
your sneeze will shoot out at least 6 feet instantly.
I think there's also a lag too. I think a lot of the cases in the city that you're seeing now is they actually probably got infected a month ago before the mayor actually decided to shut everything down. Because now the subways are pretty much empty, you know, and it's also not just the subways, but the big high-rise apartment buildings. You know, you have apartment buildings that have like, 40 stories. You know, you have thousands of people living in one building and they're sharing the same elevator, the same stair.
The same
And
air.
the same air. Yeah, exactly. The other thing too, going back to what we covered earlier, for those that just came in late here, the cruise ship. They took everybody off that first cruise ship. They went in, they disinfected it. They thought, because they were probably just spraying and wiping, not letting the stuff stay on there. But they quote disinfected it, and what do they find? 17, 21 days later, they're still finding live red dragon cultures on the ship. And so if you're in an elevator, why isn't that elevator going to be maintaining those live cultures on there unless someone comes in and disinfects it properly for 14, 17, 21 days?
Yeah, it's just crazy, and I didn't even think about that. You're like that stuff air goes up. So you think about it, the stairways. If an elevator goes down, obviously there's emergency stairways in that building. That's a channel for everything, and the air system that they're using, I'm sure, is ran through all the same things. Are they running HEPA filter systems in there? Is it just regular air systems? You got to have some kind of circulation in there, otherwise that building that big would be dead.
Yeah. If how many of you remember the movie Die Hard? When Bruce Willis was crawled out of the elevator and he crawled in that area, and all there's this big old what's called a plenum, big old shaft that just goes down the entire building. That's the air conditioning system. And so the air goes up and down for all the floors. They have one that provides air in. They have another one that sucks the air out off the floors. So it's mixing the same air all over the place. It's like Dave when we first heard that they were keeping the people on the cruise ships. He's like, that's stupid. That's a petri dish now. The cruise ships became a petri dish because all the air system is the same thing. It circulates. They don't have individual air conditioning for each room. They have a main system that does the entire ship.
Yep.
Okay, somebody did mention to ask what I was talking about when I said the wipes. You're only going to be able to see it very clearly, I don't think, maybe.
There you go.
They're called rescue. They're veterinary clinics. They're safe for humans, don't worry. But the kill time on that is 30 seconds compared to Lysol and everything else, which is minutes. So if you can find that respectably cheap enough, then buy some of that.
I was actually going to go and take a look at the Lysol bottle and actually see how long it says on there, because it says it kills 99.9% germs, but I was wondering how long does it take to kill 99.9% germs?
Minutes. It has to be saturated and let sit.
Wow.
And this is my mascot.
Hey, Titan.
Need a kitty. I'm actually surprised that my two are actually quiet because the Great Dane's sleeping on the couch and the other one's laying in front of the fire pit. So or a fire pit, the wood stove.
Yeah. Try something here real quick.
So Miranda is saying, why get air rifles? Isn't that a toy?
Well, let's see. If a toy can kill a deer,
Even elk.
toy. But on the same note, yeah, if you watch my videos, you know I usually have, or live streams, you know I have opportunistic items in reach. This right
Do I
here
have-
will kill squirrels, raccoons, and other things.
Yeah.
Slightly more advanced than a standard wrist rocket, but this isn't a toy.
Yeah.
Disinfectant wipes.
Yeah, I know the stream would be shut down if I actually got and showed the air rifle that we're talking about. They're not your standard air rifles, Miranda, like your Daisies or your Crossmans. These are actually high performance, high powered air rifles.
Okay. They've pulled off the wipes off of here. All they have on Amazon now is the concentrate, and it's out of stock.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, before I did my video did my live stream and showed that on there a couple weeks back, there was lots of it on there. Now there's nothing.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it went gone. Yeah. There is, I don't know if I have it here. Let's see. No, I took it down. I used to have a document where I had a bunch of links to those air rifle reviews, and the one which was I really like for the Air Force Texan shows them shooting ballistic gel, and they have a block of gel 16 inches long, and it goes over halfway through it.
Which 10 inches, excuse me, 10 inches in ballistic FBI gel is considered lethal.
Right.
So going 8 inches in, and if it goes through the skin and misses bone, it's lethal.
Guys, too, just remember for those coming in, if we're talking about the V, we're using Red Dragon. Otherwise, YouTube will shadow ban us, black flag us, possibly shut down our YouTube channel. So tonight, if you do talk about the V, it is the Red Dragon. So in your chat there, if you guys can, if you want to talk about it, just put in the Red Dragon. We know that is what it means. There's a big green, slow-moving sign across there that talks about it too. So for those coming in and want to chat with that, that's what we're doing tonight, just to protect everything because the analytics are killing everybody lately.
Miranda, they do make some that shoot hollow points. So yes, those options are available.
Actually,
And they will take down huge elk too. There's a guy, his YouTube channel is Annihilator Air Guns, and he owns the company. He actually sent me one for my challenge, and he's got some air rifles that can take down a fully grown elk. The technology in air rifles have came a very long way. You know, we're not talking just like Mark was saying. We're not talking your standard little pump action daisies. We have air rifles now that have subsonic ammo, hollow points, green tips. You know, everything that a regular gun would have. So they came a long way.
When you're talking a projectile, that's the same thing that comes out of a 50 Beowulf. It's moving 1,600 feet per second. It's pretty powerful.
Here's what he's talking about here. If you guys can see this, these are actually polymer tipped. So they have a blue tip on there.
Slide to your left.
Huh?
Slide that back to your left.
More.
Or more left. Because you're missing the camera.
There it is. So these are actually polymer tips. So if anybody knows what polymer can do behind something, it's not interesting. Or I should say it is interesting, but it's not fun. And then you have these. These are actually hollow points. That these are made from. These are lead pellets, so don't put them in your mouth, obviously, and not a toy. Okay. These ones here are called silver points. Now, these are actually 11.57 grams. This is the one that mine likes to shoot out of there. These are also, these are very collapsible. If you ever shoot one of these things and you see when you get it back, it's completely flattened. So like I said, there is so much ammunition out here right now. And actually this can right here that I have is a 500 count. So if you go pick up 500 rounds of 7.62, Gil, what's the cost of that right now?
I'm not sure. It's not that much.
For 500 rounds?
Of, you know,
7.62?
Of 7.62?
Well, compared to with gunpowder, it's nothing. If you're buying, you're going to buy a round, for all right, for my son's 45-70 rifle, to buy 20 rounds is $35.
Yep.
To buy 20, just the slugs is like $4.
I'm talking about buying 308 rounds in the package right now. If I go buy the cheap ones, I think they're like for 20 rounds, it's like $30 a box. So you figure 30 times 500. There's a lot of money just in rounds.
There's another option, and it's small, lightweight, and portable. And I don't have the bow on it, but it's the cheap stop. Yeah, can't talk. Cold Steel Cheap Shot 130. It is a 130-pound crossbow. The way it works is very simple. I got a review of it on my channel, and I even have scope and red dot, or magnifier and red dot on it. But that's also an option if you want something that's even more quiet.
Like I said, I was supposed to leave tonight. I'm actually going to go out and do like a solo 7-day survival challenge. And I'm taking my air rifle with me, and I'll be doing some game videos. I'll show everything from, what I can legally go out there and hunt with. So, because I think there's a lot of misconception when it comes to air rifles, and like I said personally, I know that because I've always been an AR guy, and I'm just like why even mess around with something like those? And now that we're in a situation where those could potentially save your life, as far as stealthy and being quiet, because a lot of people understand, when you're in a situation, if it got to that point, you're not going to have the same shot you have now.
All right, check this out. I got a short clip here. This is the big, the Air Force Texan. He's shooting into the block. Watch what happens. It went almost all the way through that ballistic gel.
There's a lot of energy transfer into it as well.
Yeah, look at that thing jiggle.
Yeah. And there, if anybody wants to watch that, there's the link for it. This guy goes and reviews it, doing different type of different weights and stuff. Let me back that up just a little bit. Here it goes again. Watch this. It almost comes out the other end.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So
you guys think about it too, is when we first got like paintball guns, and look at the paintball guns they got now. If you look at the airsoft guns, the very first airsoft guns they have, and now you look at the airsoft guns they got now, things have come dramatically long ways.
Yeah, before airsoft, you could shoot each other with an airsoft with just safety goggles on. Now you got to have padded jackets on because it hurts so friggin' bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I see the guys walking around with full vests on and everything else. So
yeah,
it's definitely a good idea for sure. Absolutely.
And Gunslinger says that he knows guys that carry children's compound bows in their cars for just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would do that.
Another thing I find odd that a lot of people don't carry as much as I see them. They usually, people just carry their kind of standard neck knife or just some kind of knife around their waist, but you don't see too many people still carry around multi tools. For some reason, like when I'm out and about, and I'll just kind of, wander and kind of look at someone's hip if they got something hanging there to see what it is. And I don't see a whole lot of people. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
In my pocket. Even in the military now too, I don't see a whole lot of people carrying them.
This is my multi-tool.
Multi-tools are great too for like urban carry, because a lot of people don't realize there's actually a blade on them. You can get pretty quick access to the blade, and it won't raise red flags for law enforcement. So like what I used to do when I would work in New York City is I would carry a multi-tool with me in the office, and it doesn't look suspicious because it's just a multi-tool, but I could easily access the blade right on the outside, especially on a Leatherman, like a Leatherman Wave or, you know, one of the Leathermans. I could just pull that blade right out if I have to, you know?
Yeah.
Isn't there? Didn't you say the other night too? Is that there's a law about being fixed for flex bay or foldable blades in New York too?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
Last time I checked, it was going to be over 3 inches.
Yeah, you can have a fixed blade knife, which is weird because you can have a fixed blade knife like 3 or 4 inches, but you can't have a folding knife. It's really bizarre, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, this is my everyday carry. A utility knife
Yep.
with spare blades.
Yep.
Death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Oh yeah. Well, if you know where you're going after, I mean, you could take someone out easily with that.
Yeah.
I posted that link, Annihilator Air Guns. He actually made Zachary Fowler. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He is the guy who lasted 87 days out in the woods with only 10 items. Technically 8 because he didn't use the other 2. Self-isolated from everybody. He's a really, really good guy, and he's using an air rifle that the link that I just put down below, Annihilator Air Guns, had made him, and it is a 50 cal. You can shoot all different kind of projectiles out of it. You can shoot arrows, you know, whatever it may be. Definitely, if you guys are interested in those, I would definitely recommend going through him. He also has a website too. He has some of the best of the best. You know, as we're showing you guys, and you guys still kind of don't have that concept of what kind of air rifles we're talking about. He makes them. He's got some really good products, and he does. Like I said, he sent me one for free, and it's awesome. You know, I fully trust it.
Yeah. Well, there I put it up for him. That's the link. Looks like you got a couple good reviews on there.
Freaky, there is a lot of laws, but to this day, I know for the United States, I don't know if they don't recognize air guns as a weapon
Yet.
No, they are trying to crack down a little bit on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you want to get one, get it now before they start making you have to fill out paperwork like you do for a regular firearm.
Yep. And even suppressors too. Suppressors are not. You don't have to have a tax stamp for suppressors for air rifles too.
Integral ones. If it screws off, you still got to have a tax stamp for it because it can go on a regular weapon.
Yeah. Yep.
But the ones that are built in part of it, there's no tax stamp required for it because it's part of it.
Agreed, Freaky's way too many laws.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
The things God gave us for free, our government says, no, pay me for it.
That's why I like going out in the woods, is because everything out there was created by our Heavenly Father, and it's an awesome place to spend time in.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, freedom, right?
And that's the thing, guys, is like the guys are talking about. This is all of my shot. So this is all full of my different shots for my pellet gun.
Now, how many rounds would you say you have in there, Mark?
There's easily got to be 20 to, well, there's probably 20,000 rounds in here.
20,000 rounds. Now, how heavy is that?
Yeah, I'm guessing this is close to probably anywhere between 5 to 8 pounds.
Yep. And now, how easy can you throw that in a backpack?
Simple. Here, I'll see if I can get this on camera so you guys can get an actual look at this.
Now, like I said, that's kind of my point that I'm trying to prove. You know, if you have to, get out of Dodge, if you have to go out in the woods, or, you know, even if it wasn't due to this whole kind of situation that we're being put into, you know, like I said, quiet. You can take a lot of stuff with it, and they even have, you know, kits for cleaning them too. You know,
Yep.
Definitely going to be a better option, especially when it comes to a food source.
Yeah, stealthiness is critical. Definitely want to stay stealthy.
Right. When stuff gets bad and stores don't have food and people start going out and hearing, gunshots out in the woods, you're going to compromise your area. And,
Right.
just trying to be as quiet as you can is going to make a big difference, especially when you have family you have to also protect while you're out there. And that's the beauty thing of those too, is that, you can teach at a very young age, your kids, your spouse, the trigger pulls are absolutely amazing. And it as Mark was saying too, when you grab one for your first time, you go out and shoot them, how incredibly accurate you find them to be.
Well, there's the other portion of this too, is that if you can be accurate with a pellet gun, you have that training behind there that you can be accurate with other long rifles also, because you're going to have to actually squeeze a trigger. You're not pulling a trigger, because then it's going to throw off your shot. So the same rules apply to the pellet gun, and they're a lot more stricter, because if you actually pull on that, you're going to pull your shot.
Right. 7 fundamentals of marksmanship.
Yep.
You can go through all the 7 fundamentals, nice and cheap. Good cheap way to practice. Absolutely.
Exactly. You think about it in the service, how many times we pulled our sidearm. Gil, when you went through training, how many times did you pull that sidearm and go? In the military, they made us do it in a mirror, so that every time it was the same. You came in the same spot every single time, and there's thousands of times we did that.
Yeah, I was a little bit different than most of the guys that went through the academy and stuff. My dad started teaching me when I was 12. Quick draw competition.
Oh, okay.
No, I drew thousands of times a day.
See.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. But I say I am not the typical person. When I went through the academy, I tied for first place against someone else who shot every day. He was going to the range every day, and he shot almost as much as I did, and we tied for first place. And we had the exact same gun too.
Yeah, I think also just dry fire practicing, and just, even at your house, you can do so much training at your house. A lot of people don't realize that. Just walking around your house, drawing your weapon, things like that.
If you do it in front of the mirror, you can actually catch yourself making the mistakes.
Yeah.
And then you can see it. That's why they designed that practice. So that's a
One of the things I was taught also was you start slow.
Yep.
You move slow and you get it down. You do it, and then after a while, then you start picking up speed. You don't try to go real fast. You build up the muscle memory for accuracy. Then you build up the muscle memory for speed.
One of the tricks to learn to be able to pull the trigger in appropriate fashion is take a shell casing, make sure your weapon is unloaded, triple check to make sure it's unloaded, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. Take an empty shell casing so you can't accidentally fire it, and you set it on the end of the barrel, right in front of the front sight, or behind it, whichever place it'll sit, and you hold it straight out, and you pull gently back until it clicks. If that shell falls off, you would have either pulled or pushed or yanked your shot. Keep doing that until you can pull that trigger without that shell casing coming off the barrel. Once you get
I've heard some people do that with a penny also.
Yep, pennies do work too.
Yeah.
There's another concept that NYPrepper was talking about tonight. We talk about food, we talk about preps, we talk about weapons, we talk about all that stuff. One thing that you don't hear a lot about is health, and because if we're not taking care of ourselves physically, if you don't have weights, I just saw somebody in the chat talk about weights. So, we have the Bowflex downstairs, but if you don't have anything like that, you can do sit-ups, you can do push-ups, you can do all kinds of different things. And if you're not physically capable of doing that, find some other way. But keeping yourself in shape in this time and age. So if you got to walk 5 miles, or if you got to walk 10 miles, you can do that. Because if you throw that scenario in there, and you throw a kid or your child with you, or someone that's sick, or an elderly person that, let's say there's somebody in a wheelchair that you're pushing around, that is going to double what you're trying to do. So don't forget that your one of your main preps is your body and your health. You got to be physically capable of doing it.
Us old folks need extra help. So make sure you take vitamin D supplements, vitamin C, or get it through herbals and essential oils.
Like I like to
And
use
vitamin D is critical.
when Tyler was out by us for our challenge there, we're nibbling on. He caught me a couple times taking pine needles, and I throw them in my mouth, and I see which one I like the best, and then I'd break off a branch, and there's my vitamin C for the day because I can make some tea out of that in a hurry. And what's cool about it is it's super light. I can get it anywhere up here anyway. But one of the things too that these guys are talking about, make sure you do know your edibles in your area. My edibles are going to be different than your edibles.
Yep.
So know your edibles in your area, know the things that you can use. If it's medicinal or edible, there's a difference.
Absolutely.
And for those who are new into this and don't have a whole lot of background information, I have a Discord server, and I have over 2 gigs worth of information in downloadable format and files and PDFs containing the information we're talking about for the most part, as well as a lot of stuff we're not talking about, because to talk about everything you would need to know would take probably the next 4 weeks solid. And even then we'd still miss things.
Oh yeah.
So if you would like to join my Discord server, hit me up on my About page on my channel, and I will send you a link.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. It's really cool.
Discord's a great server. It's free too. I mean, it's awesome.
Free for you, not for me.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I think just, practicing a lot at home. I mean, just drawing your pistol out, dry firing. I mean, just spending time at home doing stuff like that makes a huge difference in my opinion, because if you think about shooting is really like 70% muscle memory. And then 25% is really actually pulling, the trigger, squeezing the trigger. So just doing that repetitive motion constantly and just, building up the muscle memory is critical. And then, once you do that, you go to the range and you pull the trigger and you're good,
As far as doing it and practicing, as far as, aiming down your sights and stuff, I think so. But what I learned when I did training is that when you do dry fire and stuff, and if you do that 5-6 times and then go blindfolded and be out there with someone that you trust and have them put a live round in, and you'll notice a difference between when you're dry firing and when you actually fire a live round. And you have to have the person cock your gun back a certain points throughout the time until it gets a full cock back where it actually chambers a round into the gun. And your mind plays the biggest trick when it comes to dropping as you're aiming, because in your mindset you think that you're going to be firing a live round when you're not, until it gets to the point where you don't know if he actually fully cocked it back or not. So that's something everyone I think should take in consideration too.
Yeah, like flinching and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anticipating the recoil. I think still dry. Yeah.
The numbers here just increased. It went up from 837 to 873. This went up 8, and this went up 15 or so. So it's good to see our recovered number go up faster than our deaths.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yes, very good thing.
Sybil says, I took my girls into the yard yesterday and we picked wild greens to cook for spring tonic. They were so good. Yeah, Sybil, I can't wait. We still got snow on the ground, but I've seen some of my blueberries are actually got some leaves starting out. There's some buds on there, so it's coming. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
That means my wild edibles in the woods, like my leeks and stuff like that, are going to be coming too. So that'll be really interesting to get out there and do that stuff.
Yeah.
If I'm allowed to go out there and get that stuff.
I would like to give a shout out to a channel that's not in here, a really good channel on edibles and stuff. That's food forest permaculture.
Yeah, Howie, he's always in here.
I haven't seen his name go by yet. I may have missed it because I've been busy. But if you guys have a chance, go check out Howie's channel. He's got some great videos. He just put one out on for people with diabetes. He talked about some of the plants you can eat to help get you off of your insulin.
Yeah,
So-
he's most of the guys in my channel would probably already have Howie. He's always popping in when we do our live streams and stuff like
Same with
that.
Green Wizard.
It's important to learn your edibles, that's for sure, because those things can make and break it. Your trapping skills. If for some case that I really don't like putting all my eggs in one basket, so I got to make sure that I have other means.
Yeah. Diversification of skills.
Yeah, gunslinger, you're right. It's Wisconsin. We might get us. They're talking about blizzards here a little this week yet, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, actually, there's the jet streams made a funny twist, and they're doing some funky things. I've been watching Suspicious Observers in the morning. He shows a little bit of weather on the weather pattern caused by all sorts of different things. He goes into it. He's got scientific degrees up the yin yang.
Yes, Saint.
And so he's got some good stuff on why the gut patterns are going, and he gives good outline, and he usually calls out everything pretty correctly on it.
So there's a thing that we were talking about, and NYPrepper took off now. One of the other things that we were discussing today with these guys, and that is, and I think Dave did talk a little bit about it, but not a whole lot, and that was the digital money system.
Well, do you want me to do it from a humanistic standpoint or a biblical standpoint?
Well,
And I'm being serious when I ask that.
We all know that the mark of the beast and all of that stuff. So most of the guys in my room are going to understand that very well, and they're going to the mark and the chip and the whole 9 yards. So we can talk about it biblically. We can talk about it the normal way, because these guys are going to.
Well, I'll be kind and do it both. Okay. Whoa, my tablet just went nuts. YouTube's playing tricks again, folks. So watch yourself. I won't be able to see chat now. Anywho, from a standpoint of a non-believing person, the whole digital wallet looks like a wonderfully great thing. I don't have to do anything now. I won't have to have a bank account. I won't have to have anything. They'll just send me whatever I get right there. Employer, government, whatever. Let's put it on this little card, or, oh, wow, they're going to offer a chip. Well, guess what, folks? Guess what is mandatory in all humans? The chip. Where? It's in that wonderful thing we call Obamacare. It is in there. It's toward the back, and it's buried pretty dang deep, but it's there. I read it when it first came out. That's in there. What better way to implement a digital currency is with a chip? Okay. Now, is that the mark? I don't know. I don't think so, for the simple fact is they're not offering to put it in your forehead. They're only offering you to put it in your wrist or your arm, and they're putting it both left and right. They may change that. That, is neither here nor there at this point. We don't have the information to do anything other than conjecture. From a biblical standpoint, this is ushering us into a one world economy. The one world economy, once one or two countries get to it, then the central bank will force all countries to accept it, so it can be a single monetary value across the world. It will supposedly stop inflation and gouging and all these discrepancies upon people getting paid so much versus so much here. Excuse me, that's how they're going to spin it. Well, once we get the one world economy going, we'll get the whole one world government and then the one world church. We already all, those who are Bible believing people, already know what that leads to.
Exactly.
So, it is a possibility. We as believers just need to keep our eyes open and watch. As believers, we are watchmen. It is our job as watchmen standing on the wall to sound the alarm if we see the arrow coming.
And
Something
that's the other thing too,
harping
is
on my
that
channel.
it makes it easier. These steps is makes it for that one world order, that one world government, the one currency, all that things. All these steps are making it easier and easier for that to turn around, because I just learned recently that I didn't even know this, that there are some people that are out there that don't have a banking account. And if you read what was in that package with the new stimulus bill, that was one of those their concerns was going to go to this digital system, because some people do not have bank accounts. They can't do a direct deposit. And
one thing I got off my Discord channel just a few minutes ago was Wide Family. They're here in Ohio. They said they were watching the news, and one of the things they said on the news were the only people that are getting it, again, are the people who paid taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So those who are on disability or Social Security, who are veterans who are on, either disability or veterans benefits, and people like that are going to get nothing.
And maybe have been the White family I saw that posted it saying that you had to have paid taxes in 2018.
Yep.
Which I've been on disability since 2015. I haven't paid taxes since 2014.
Well, I retired in 2018, so I paid taxes in 2018.
Well, good. Send me your share. Charles needs it.
Yeah.
Hey, busy little house. Good to see you.
Hey, busy.
Mallory just went to bed. You missed her. So there's a lot of information here, guys. There's a lot to soak in. We're just about at that 2-hour mark. So where did Prepper go? New York Prepper.
He went on vacation.
He's probably grabbing something to drink.
Yeah.
And big dreams, they can, let me put it this way. This is the only phone I carry anywhere. It's one of them cheap little track phones. They don't track it because it doesn't ping anything unless you actually dial it. But most everybody else has one of these. Guess what? Even if you put it in airplane mode, you can still be tracked.
Yep.
Okay.
I actually
type and do track and record.
Tracker for mine.
You got a what?
A spoof tracker. It's where you can convince your service that you're in a location, like I'm somewhere in, I don't even remember where I put it, somewhere like far off seas. You can change for me, I have an iPhone, which supposedly was a phone that could never be hacked. But I ended up using a spoof tracker along with a date and time. So when I want to get on the internet, I actually have to change the date and time on my phone in order to use internet, because I usually, when I leave my house or I leave wherever I'm going, I ended up changing my date and time to like 1980 or something like that.
Crazy things.
Yeah.
So China is sleeping, right? Or no, they're coming up online now, right?
China's number has updated once already. I've watched it. Now, there is something, one of the articles that Dave and I have found states that it came off of it's either China in Focus, I think it was, or CNA, where they found documents, I think it was China in Focus, that that states that all the documents they got out of China states that China underreported by 86%.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's just one of the things. So I'm going to run something up here real quick here. So China has 85,873.
No, that's us.
Oh, sorry, that's us. You're right. Clear.
81.
I'm so used to them being on top. 81. Hey, it's still probably more correct too, but 83 or 742, 342.
782.
So 3.2 times 100 divided by 14 equals, according to this, I got double numbers in. Hang on, let me clear it.
Hey, Saint, yeah, if you can watch any of my videos, you'll see I'm laid back, but I'm honest. I don't do fear porn. I don't believe in it. I'll call out channels who do. I'll do what I did earlier today and do a spoof video of them.
That was funny,
If you
by the way.
if you want 30 seconds of comedy, go watch the video I just put out earlier.
All right, so I just did the math. So they underreported by 581,014. A bunch of digital points after it, but basically they underreported by 581,014 according to the documents they had. Now, there's another set of documents that came out talking about their cell phones. They use their cell phones for everything. They pay on their cell phones, person to person, whatever. Okay. For the last 5 years, during January and February, the number of accounts have increased every January and February for the last 5 years, except this year. This year it dropped 21 million accounts. Now, the news article went through and they were trying to lower down, try to figure out ways around it and stuff. They were able to lower that down with excuses about why it would have dropped 21 million down to 15 million that they could excuse out because of this, that, and the other. That still leaves 6 million, which they believe is the actual number of death rate for China, because those people are no longer around to have their accounts.
Careful, gunslinger. I may turn you into a Papa Smurf.
Well, he is a Smurf here.
Yeah, I see that.
Oh yeah, Gunslinger's a good one too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you and he sent me a lot of good information. He finds stuff and he emails it to me. So you figure if that is correct, that there are 6 million no longer around people in China because they no longer have their phones, then it can't be explained away why they no longer have an account. That's scary.
So just like I'm looking at John Hopkins right now, and they're saying the U.S. right now is 85,653 confirmed cases, and right now we're sitting at 1,209 confirmed deaths, with 713 recovered.
Yeah,
yeah.
But that puts them a little bit behind the cycles here over on the Roy Lab.
But Roy Lab took down the U.S. or is it still up there?
It's still up there. Roy Lab says 85,837 and 1,299 deaths and 753 recovered. So John Hopkins is probably going to run about an hour or so behind, and they'll catch up here shortly.
Yeah, so there, and that's the other thing that we wanted to talk to you guys, and you heard this from myself, and you heard this from Dave. If you are just coming in here or something like this is I've been fighting a cold for 3 weeks. I was diagnosed with influenza A, which they said by 4 different doctors when they diagnosed me, but the tests and the swabs came back negative, and I've had 3 different times now in the last week I got swabbed again for influenza A, which came back negative, and they don't understand why because of the symptoms. But one of the things that when we went to the clinic, now when I went to my last time I got in there, I got attacked by the moon suit people. I got put in a private room. I got the whole shebang. And for our state in Wisconsin, it says due to the overabundance of tests in the queue, which means what they have at the state lab, and the rotations of testings to hospital patients, we are unable to test for the Red Dragon at this time for outpatients. So how can the numbers be correct?
They're not.
Exactly.
You got to figure also the first 3 weeks it was here in the U.S., the U.S. had only maybe 10,000 cases for the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're up to about 500,000 cases for the entire country. So even if every case or test was used for just one person, our numbers would jump. But the problem is they're using 3 and 4 tests on some people. Well, you got the symptoms, but we're going to test you again. And
Yep.
I'm not taking anything away from you. But to do that to a person 3 or 4 times or 5 times in a 2-week period. Well, what about the person who's over in the ER getting put on a ventilator that can't get the test? They're not counted.
And Busy
Yep.
just said, my sister and the whole family had the same thing happen to them, and I believe that you're not sick enough that you just go away. And that's that's the thing is if you're not in critical care right now, and they've told me 3 times this. So, and this is coming from the medical doctors at the hospital. They told me 3 times that you are no longer sick, so you're not going to get that test. But then you have this, the other side of this thing is what I was told from like Dave was explaining today is there's some side effects to this cold. I have a chronic cough now, and my work isn't going to let me come into work because I have a chronic cough.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, too, is if he has it, we're not saying he does or doesn't. We're not trying to cause panic.
Right.
But if he does it and he's still got the cough, then from the tests that are being revealed in other countries, guess what? He can still give it to you.
Yeah, because they actually tested somebody here in the U.S. They had, this is about 3 weeks ago. The person, quote, was recovered. They kicked them loose, and about a week after they kicked him, or 3 or 4 days after they kicked him loose, they tested him again. Oh, he's still positive. Get back in isolation.
What were you going to say, Tyler?
When did this start becoming to the point where everyone started getting worried about it? When was, what would you say a time frame roughly?
I was told from the doctor that looked at me, they knew in the United States here in November about this.
Yeah. Patient 0
November?
found, but patient number 1 was found November 15th.
So you would say what, probably roughly around January is kind of when it kind of started going viral with people start noticing, or was that in February?
That was in February because on January 20th, the first case was found in the U.S.
Well, see, there is an article.
It wasn't until there were numerous people with it. It wasn't until in February that the CDC started to change their story a little bit. That it's not even close to being as bad as the flu.
Well, see, there was an article posted by Ken All Trucker, and that was January 26th, talking about the urgent need to find a cure for the coronavirus before it gets out of hand.
Oh, yeah. There were a bunch of smart people realized what it was and weren't believing the lies coming out of the CDC. And I will say it, there were some people in the CDC that were flat out lying for political reasons. And they were realizing, seeing what was going on in China, it's like, no, this is going to be way worse than the flu.
Guys, remember, too, that when we talk about it, if you say it in the chat somewhere else, use Red Dragon. That way we can get less of a chance to get tagged by Mr. YouTube and friends and family.
Yeah, if you accidentally type it in there, go back and delete it.
The other thing too that we found out this morning, which I thought was a little bit odd, is some of our like all the stuff that me and Tyler and Greg put together last night, I had saved on my Google search. I get up this morning and my Google was wiped clean. But my back history was still there. At least I still had that. Some of us didn't have that. That was wiped also. And that's just because Dave did a lot more research than I did.
Yeah.
Really crazy things are going on. They are trying to, bury this as much as they can.
It's simple. They're trying to silence the truth. They're shadow banning. All my subscribers keep telling me they don't get notifications anymore. So Gil and I have resorted to making a video earlier today saying, hey, guess what? We're going live later. just so they get some kind of notice that says, hey, we're going to do something.
Yep, we had to do the same thing. Yeah, and that's why it's so important, you guys, to help doesn't matter if it's our channel or if, your favorite channels, if it's Gil, if it's Dave, it's Tyler, anybody. If you can share it out on the social media, that is the only way that we're going to get heard, or you're going to get the right information, or your friends and family can come and watch and get the same information. Who knows if when we finish here tonight, if they're even going to let me keep this up. They might just totally knock this one down. I don't know.
I'm not sure what you're talking about there, Saint Gang, about D-Live.
D-Live.
I think he's saying
D-Live.
Yeah, it's D-Live. It's another streaming service.
Another streaming service. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do
All
know
right.
about D-Live. I have Discord. I do not have D-Live. Sorry. But I haven't been able to figure out my Discord thing. I'm trying to go live on there, but I can't figure out how to.
Yeah, join the crowd.
Yeah.
It says
Yeah.
It's enabled, and it says that I can, but I can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I tinkered with it about 2 weeks ago, and I've been too busy since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to all the sources I was able to look for, rustic traditions, the first documented case in the United States was January 20th.
Mm-hmm. Of course, that key word is documented.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny that the clinics and hospitals are saying that it was back in November.
Well, thing is, so in China, they thought it was the first case was in December 1st, and then they track back farther, and then they track back farther. Well, on November 15th, they have 5 people that they can document on November 15th having it. They have not been able to find out who they got that from. Those 5, they haven't been able to get back to patient 0 yet.
That's just so crazy. Does anybody know exactly who brought it over here? Was that Chinaman or?
The thing is, because they can only document one person. I mean, there could have been others that have come over with it, and we're spreading the not the L version, but the other one, which is not as bad, and it could have been going around a little bit sooner, and that's why it's not documented. But it really wasn't becoming a problem in China until when was it?
January 3rd is when they started having their explosion of it.
Yeah, when it exploded. But they had, there was stuff noticing of something going on around the 20th or 15th even of December, that they knew something was going on.
Yeah, that's why they forced that doctor to recant his statement.
Yeah, and
there's also something that I heard too there, guys, is that there was a lady that supposedly was tested. She came back negative. She went somewhere else and tested positive. So now she's getting put in jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, but all I know is like on the flights that came into Alaska, they tested everybody up in Alaska. Everybody was negative. They flew down to the 48 states. I'm not sure where they landed. I think it was Nebraska, and they tested them again. And that person, one of the people, tested positive. That's because the tests we had weren't that good. And
no,
so
they were the original tests that China sent over, which had an 80% failure rate.
Yeah, so they could have been testing. You had several tests saying negative before you had one that said, "Oops, oh no, you're positive."
And here's the key problem, and it's only now just being released. See if I can word this in a way that doesn't sound fearful. I can't. The latency period, the time it takes from the moment you get it to the moment you start exhibiting symptoms can be anywhere from 1 to 14 days. There are some people who never show symptoms. They stay asymptomatic for 28 to 30 days. Then they start to recover. Their body starts building up immune system to it.
And
so somewhere between that 1 and 28 days, if you got it, something will happen. But you could be one of those fortunate few that get it, show absolutely no symptoms, and are spreading it to everybody around you and don't even know it.
Yeah.
So that's why my recommendation is, if you have to go out in public, if you have to, put on a mask, wear gloves, bathe in hand sanitizer while you're out in public, then go home and wash up with soap and water.
Yeah. One of the things interesting was that one case they documented in Germany, their first cases, a person flew from China over for a business meeting, met with Germany's patient number 1 on day 1. On day 2, patient number 1 had contact with another person, the only day he had contact with that person. 4 days later, patient 1 came down with the symptoms. 5 days later, that other person came down with the symptoms, and they tested positive. So patient 1 became contagious the next day. That is what was something, you know, like, ooh, okay, now I know why it's spreading so fast.
Guys, too, if you just came in here, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up on your way in. That would be much appreciated. It tells YouTube that you guys are interested in what we're doing. If you guys look behind Tyler, this little skit on The Simpsons was put out in 1993. Tyler, don't show the top of it, though, where it actually says it. And you see the 2 guys behind in the box, coughing in the box, and then you see Homer open it up, and you can obviously see in the description behind Homer it says Red Dragon. If you guys haven't seen what the thing says on the back there, that is the key word for what we're talking about tonight. That was put out in 1993. 1993, season 4, episode 21. Now, if you haven't watched The Simpsons, they also predicted the World Trade Center. They also predicted Trump's being president and a ton of other stuff. Coincidence? Who knows?
Sure. Contagion is another coincidence.
Yeah, the movie.
There was a movie that there was another one that Tyler was talking about too. I don't remember
Purge.
what it was.
Look at the credits on The Purge. It was the 21st of March, 2020.
Huh.
Or the 21st of March, 2020, which is a lot of you guys know the number 21 has been going off a lot lately.
Yeah.
So, Dammits85 is asking who in the chat is in Washington State. So if you guys can give him an answer, that would be great.
I'm in Idaho.
I got friends like in Indiana. I mean, I got a lot of friends all over the place. But one thing I noticed about your map here, Gil, if you've noticed, it's like the whole would be the west side or east side of the state or of the country. It's just hammered.
Well, all right, let's look at what you have over there. You have LaGuardia. You have Atlanta is a hub. JFK is a hub.
Cincinnati's a hub.
Yeah, you have a lot of hubs. On the East Coast, what are your hubs on the East Coast? Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle. And in the middle of the country is Denver.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, if you look at where it's in Nevada there, it's slim pickings
Vegas.
out there. I wonder why.
Vegas is the place. It's not the only place in Nevada, but it is the main place in Nevada that is getting hammered. You got up here by Washoe County, which actually Washoe County covers down over, and one of the first big truck stops in Nevada is at Fernley. Fernley is in Washoe County, so that's probably where it's. It's a big long county, but it comes down and covers in here. So that's probably where their numbers are coming from, where all the truck stops are and all the people going on 80 across stop. But Vegas, is 350. I mean, Vegas is the only city that really did it right. When they got a couple of them, They shut down the casinos.
Yeah.
Rather, the casinos themselves shut down and sent all their people home and are paying their people stay home. So,
If you guys don't know about Denver's airport, there's a lot of things that is in that airport that is
Interesting.
very interesting. Yes, thank you. Very interesting. Yes, exactly. So if you
Look
have
at it
not
from a
checked
bit-
that out, there's a lot of stuff out there you can go and see. But it's something to look at.
Yeah, they have the murals, all those weird murals on the wall.
Yep.
That's not the worst of it. They got that giant horse standing out in the middle of somewhere,
Yep.
yeah.
which underneath it's all kinds of crazy, strange stuff.
Yeah.
Tunnels and byways and highways. Oh, oops! I wasn't supposed to tell a government secret.
Okay. I'm trying to zoom this in a little bit more. You see what about Denver? What's kind of strange is it's going to be hard to. It's not going to show up very well. I'm going to try to trace it though. This here is the county line. There's the county. That county there has 67. From this county line over here, where does it go? Up over this way here. That's Jefferson. So there's 132. The county line around Denver cuts like this. And so, this is, it's off to the side, but this is in Denver County. So there's the 200 there. And you got another one up in here, 10 up in here. And I thought there were some other ones. But they're in the counties reach in, like this county here reaches right in close to Denver. And it's part of the urban areas in this other county. And they got 119. Even though it goes way out here to nothing, I'm betting 119 is right down here in the urban area.
Hey, Gil,
Same thing with this county here.
Gil, I just saw this. I think Dave will love this. Today is March 26th, and 2020 is today. Isaiah 26:20. Go, my people, enter your rooms and shut the doors behind you. Hide yourselves for the little while until his wrath is passed by.
I've heard that one. I heard that one. Somebody
I got
said
one that's just as important.
It's kind of hard to see unless you can make it big.
Oh, here.
There we go. There we go.
Josh,
Have I not?
Mine.
Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
Amen.
Let's see. I kind of made a little plaque.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Dave, he's not going to say it, so I'll say it for him. Dave is selling those for $20 a piece to help support his channel. He has bought a laser burner to do that.
That's cool.
I was gonna share this photo, but I don't know. Can I put that in the chat? No, I can't.
Gil would have to stop sharing in order for anybody else to share something.
You want me to stop sharing? No. Mark, you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, whoever wants to share some stuff, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm stopping.
Let's see.
So here's a question. These are some of the news breaks that I get while Tyler's looking at stuff up here. One of the things here is will coronavirus infected people develop immunity? That was one of the things that came out today.
I'm sorry, that picture is just making me laugh.
Yeah. Don't always trust your local news source. Someone sent that to me, and I had to share that. I thought it was too funny.
Yeah.
Hey, it looks like the cameraman's at least got gloves on.
Yeah.
It
And
might
they're
be
dressed
just-
up like a Smurf.
It's probably because he's cold out.
That's funny, man.
Here's another one here. It says, what jobs will be mostly affected by the red dragon? So let's see what they come up with here.
Oh. If it continues to keep blowing up, this is a big if, and this is going to the extreme end of it. So, I mean, if we're going to discuss things as people who prepare, As I said earlier, Gil and I call ourselves apes. Advanced preparations for emergencies. We're apes. We're baby apes, because I just coined the phrase. But anyway, if you're going to do mental exercises, you have, along with thinking of minimal things, you have to start thinking outside the box and going to extremes in order to get your brain to comprehend the bad things. So let's go to the absolute extreme. Your truck is shut down, no food, no fuel. When that runs out, everything else shuts down. And I don't care what job you're working, the government is going to shut down. Visually, it's going to shut down. It won't shut down because they got stores upon stores upon stores and stuff. But for us common people that aren't multi-billionaires with bunkers underground by 2 miles, we're going to see the effects pretty quick. It will spiral out of control. Now, that is the extreme end of things. On the light end of things, this doesn't get much worse, and Trump gets his wish. By the end of April, things start moving back in production again. And this has just been a speed bump.
There's an article out by Dr. Thomas Conlin, who has pointed out that every time there was a pandemic in the last 150 years, there was a large leap of electrification on Earth shortly before, like as in fall of 1917, the radio waves were introduced globally, and the Spanish flu broke out just months later in 1918. And in 1968, the Hong Kong flu emerged shortly after we put satellites emitting radio frequencies into our orbit around Earth. And now that the midst of the corona, or the red dragon, shortly after the 5G towers are being installed. And it's funny that they're actually using hazmat suits, as you see a lot of people are wearing, as they install the 5G towers. I used to work for a company, Communication Data Link, and I used to install fiber optic cables. And I remember when the launch of like 3G or 4G came out, being up in the cell towers, up in like a lot of the cell towers are in water towers, like a local small town water tower, and I'd have like massive headaches from being in there working. So I thought that was kind of curious too, because I know that they've been trying and talking about launching 5G for at least the last year or so.
Samantha is saying right now that, and she's in California, is break-ins are starting to happen here. Pawn shops hit today.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys don't know, California is the poster child for things to happen in other places.
Okay.
Something just happened here, big time, guys. So we just jumped to 86,000. We're at 13,000 deaths. But the good news, we just jumped over 1,000 recovered confirmed cases.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good.
That's actually really good.
It dropped the straight across death rate here from 65 down to 41. Well, the number that was here before was 65 something, I think it was. Here, let me find. I'll just tell you exactly what it was. I'll go back out here. It went from 63.3 to 41.0% straight across. But the back one over here, it went from 52% going on the 2-week shift to 21%.
So 2.1% actually, 2.1.
Yeah, 2.1%.
Over two places.
Yeah, 2.1%. That is an incredible drop there, folks.
And that
is great news.
In order to get a handle on this, we need to get that 2-week shift to drop to almost nothing.
Yeah. And for those that don't know what the 2-week shift is, let me move this up and I will show you. So calculating, if I calculate straight across, which is adding the recovered and the death rate to get us the resolved. So you divide the resolve into the death rate, and that gives you this one here. Now, if we do a 2-week shift, the 2-week shift takes it adds this one and this one together to get the resolved number, and then you divide the resolved into the death rate, and that gives you a 2-week shift. And the reason to do a 2-week shift is because it takes about 2 weeks for a person to recover to be documented as recovered.
Okay, and Saint Gang actually brings up a point that I don't think we mentioned on this live stream. If we did, it was at the very near beginning. So I'm going to reiterate it again. Those who are recovered, shall we say, are left with lifelong debilitating issues. Your heart, your liver, your lungs, your kidneys can all be affected by this. In the worst cases, those people may never fully recover to live any semblance of a normal life, which is why some doctors are being forced with a decision. And it's not I don't envy these doctors at all, but there are doctors in New York City at the main hospital that have happened to make the decision. Young person A in mid-30s needs to be on a ventilator, while patient B, who's 78 in dire, may not recover at all. Which one do they put the ventilator on?
They're going to take the young one.
Well, they're usually picking the younger person because, oh, they have so much more to offer the community after they're healed.
Yep.
You know, it's a very, and I've talked to one of the doctors, and he was crying before we actually got to finish our conversation. I told him, look, just go ahead and go back, go home and go to rest. He said, I can't even go home to my family. He says, I got to stay here in the hospital in a room they've set up for us. And it's essentially, and if any of you worked in the electronics, you know what a clean room is. That's what they sleep in, is a clean room. The light is purple. It's a UV light, and it bathes them while they sleep, so it can try and kill off anything that's on them.
North Star's asking, what is your take on why Italy has such a high death rate?
Because Italy is full of old people.
Yeah. Let me drop this down out of here, and it'll bring up the Italian map here, and you'll notice the highest rates. It also correlates to the age groups. The area that is getting hit the worst in China has the highest number of senior citizens.
Italy.
Sorry, what did I say? China. Okay, in Italy. Sorry, I'm looking up the reason. So the area in Italy up there in the northern northeast part of the boot there's one region up there which has a lot of elderly people, and that's the area that has the greatest number of hits.
And another thing that's not mentioned a whole lot on the news is that in that region, as in most of Italy, grandparents, parents, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids all pretty much live under the same roof. So if one gets it, they pass it to everybody in the household.
Right. Yeah, I was just going to say that actually. Yeah, Italians are big on the family things, so they're always together all the time, and exactly.
I've got quite a bit of family over there right now. Close family, cousins, grandmas. It is absolutely horrible over there. I don't know. There's been lots of videos. I don't know if you guys heard about some of the people that were live streaming, sitting next to their wife or sitting next to their sister who was dead, and begging and pleading for the army to come in and remove their bodies, and no results for weeks on end now. Mm-hmm. It's been absolutely crazy.
That's really sad.
If our government doesn't get off its lazy white, our country's going to turn into the same thing. It's just a fact. It's not to scare anybody. It's the fact. And if the facts scare you, then the facts aren't the issue. I'm not trying to be mean, but just poignant.
The other thing too is if you guys, what was that, two, three years ago, where they had rail cars coming in with the disposable caskets, the big plastic caskets that were stacked up for miles.
Right.
In Michigan had 2.3 million of those in it.
That's
okay,
insane.
Guys, I'm going to share something else over here for you. If I can get it up here. All right, this is China in Focus news site. What I want to point out is the second video back. Patient killed in ICU. There's a guy on here who's talking about in China where, because they explained the entire fallacy of the medical insurance, over there. You have to pay for your own stuff. The government doesn't pay for it. Your work doesn't pay for it. and the hospitals don't pay for it. And so basically, everyone kind of, when the deputy administrator comes down on the floor, everyone kind of just goes away from whatever room he goes into, and he winds up giving a lethal injection to whoever's in there. And then four back is what I talked about earlier, the 20 million accounts closed, cell phone accounts.
Johnny Harper, if you can provide any information that can verify or deny, not to be mean.
Hey, Johnny, good to see you.
If you can provide any, give us a site to go look for by name and let us check it out. I mean,
I think I have his number. He's actually one of my subscribers. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to run through my contacts.
I'm not trying to diss him or anything, but
oh no.
Something that, as we're talking on this live panel, would be something we need to address, and that would be the implementation of a military force, which is what he just described.
I'm checking in it right now, because that should be.
I want to get back into the whole thing that was mentioned earlier about LA and break-ins. I have a bulletproof vest for my son. Okay, I ain't taking no chances. I'm already locked and ready. Should that translate itself to here?
Yeah.
I have many friends on the police force. I'm actually trying to do a donation drive to give back to them on my channel. I speak to the chief occasionally. I mean, he knows me, I know him. He knows I run a YouTube channel because I've been swatted already, and him and I laughed about it. It's like, boy, that was pointless, wasn't it? He said, yep, we know you're not doing anything wrong.
One day ago, there was a video out from CBS Los Angeles that shows massive tanks on rail cars.
That I'm not as worried about. They're constantly moving equipment around the country.
Right.
Yeah, especially since you have two big Marine bases down there.
Yep.
You got Pendleton, and you got the one out there by Bakersfield.
Yep.
And they're always moving. There's always moving tanks back and forth between those two.
Oh, and I see Troy's in here too with Annihilator air guns. Good to see you, Troy.
Hello, Troy. He just said they rolled tanks into LA. So that would be something that would be pertinent information, because that would mean civil unrest is beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Now you say rolled them in. Does that mean they were on the streets driving in, or were they on rail cars?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, that's going to be the big difference there.
I'm seeing them right now. They are on rail cars.
That doesn't worry me as much as if they're actually on the street. But there is always that, because LA is known for its youth energizing, anti-political, grandma drinking tea people, if you get my drift. They may be pre-staging equipment just in case. Smart military people would do that. They would say, look, we know this area isn't an issue. If things go bad, this is going to be a really bad place to be. We need to pre-stage stuff. Now, anybody that's been in the military and spoken to lieutenants on up who are in the planning stages will tell you, before a deployment, they pre-stage equipment long before the troops even realize something's happening.
Yeah.
What was that last what was it? The last drill mission that they were doing in LA a couple years back? Wasn't it like Jake something or
Jade Helm?
Jade Helm. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking up and I see a lot of people are just debunking it as practice missions, or which
well, let me let you know a fact. Back in 1985, a long time ago, back in the beginning. Sorry. Back in 1985, you know what they taught us and were teaching us in basic training? Urban warfare on the streets of America.
Really?
Okay, yeah. This has been in the planning. They teach this. Now, I'm not saying that anybody back then was saying that we were going to invade America or do something bad to America, but that's what they train. And back then they used America as someplace that we can relate with. If they said urban training in Bangladesh, 90% of the people in there would have been scratching their head going, what's it like over there? Show me some pictures at least. But when they said, training on the streets of America, it gave everybody something to relate to.
So this is what they say. Los Angeles, a train with just under 300 military tanks was on the move Wednesday from Ventura to Island Empire. Navy base Ventura County tweeted that the convoy was a routine movement of supplies to continue support the Department of Defense. And they've got Bradley's on there, and they've got the A1 Abrams on there also. And they are decked out in the Iraqi colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that one I'm not too concerned with. But if they unload them and they hit the streets, that's an entirely different situation.
Yeah. Were there any strikers on there?
No. There was one car. It looked like it had the M88s on there, but I didn't see any strikers on there. All I saw was the Bradleys, the Abrams, and they had a couple recoveries.
Yeah.
I think they had a few 113s, but them are going to be outdated here soon anyway.
Yeah.
They can send me one.
You can send me one too. So I would venture to say that if they're going to be staging anything, they're going to be staging Hummers,
Yep.
Bradleys,
Strikers.
MRAPs.
Yep.
They're going to need fast moving vehicles.
Guys, you got to remember too, is guys in the chat, is tanks do not do good on concrete. They don't like them.
Right.
They actually
they're going to go with regular wheeled stuff. They're probably not going to use tracked vehicles much, right?
Right.
Well, and the sad thing is, most of the city streets in LA can't handle the weight of a tank in the first place.
I was just going to say that they do make rubber. They do make rubber shoes for the Abrams, but our streets can't handle the weight of those things. That's
the only thing in America that's designed to handle the weight of a full-fledged M1A1 Abrams tank or even a light tank are the U.S. highways. And that's the old highways that are made out of concrete, not these new asphalt things. They can't handle the weight.
Yeah.
Because when the highways were originally built, when Rutherford B. Hayes said, hey, let's build highways across this nation, one of the stipulations in the original framework was that they could handle the weight of tanks.
That's strange.
That's strange, yeah.
So yeah, there's so much stuff that's buried on here, guys. Among the things that we were talking about tonight, but and you can go find this out online. You just got to go dig for it.
We're going to go look something up right now.
Yeah. Real quick. Samantha MV, if you're between LA and San Francisco, if you're pretty much in the middle, if you're above Santa Barbara and below Monterey, you're probably a little better off than my twin brother by another mother that's down there in LA.
Yeah, I see something about Dodger Stadium too, about lots of rental cars but no people.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people send me videos and stuff, but a lot of times, you can't really verify, if it's real or not. But I have a couple of people that sent me some videos today, and I gotta check on them. But it looked like one person sent me. Actually, this one's probably legit. It's one of my subscribers. They actually texted it to me. Video in Kentucky on I think it was I-64, and it was a huge 18-wheeler with black coffins stacked up all the way to the top, just going down the highway. So I'll try to make a video on that. But
yeah, well, I would not doubt that they are mass producing coffins now because of what the death rate going on around, especially as fast as the confirmed cases are rising, like in New York. 20,000 in New York City. They're probably freaking out, thinking, okay, that's going to be 60,000 in a week, and so
I just got a message from somebody. Subscriber of mine also saying that there were troops from Fort Campbell going down to New York City right now. Supposedly, yeah.
There's all sorts of troops. Air Force reserves were being called up for crowd control a week and a half ago. One of
Oh, wow.
my people, Stringfield Ridge, her daughter's in the Air Force and got called up to go to do help with crowd control and stuff in New York City.
Wow.
Well, the National Guard here in Ohio has been called up, but it is to
Yeah, same
distribute.
here in Iowa.
It's
My wife got called in
MREs.
yesterday.
Yep, they're here to distribute MREs to the hardest hit counties. My county's not one of them. Darn it! I was hoping to get some MREs I could stash. Hey,
I got quite the collection. She's a 92G. So they have like that open box policy. If they even take one out, they have to get rid of it. And so I have like a huge collection in my closet.
cool. That's the only thing I don't have is MREs. I have freeze dried and dehydrated stuff.
Yeah, my wife was a staff sergeant. She did the same thing. Brought a bunch home when we first got married.
You know, MREs are nice. The thing that it is that they're not one thing that you want to eat a lot of because they do plug you up.
Yep.
Oh, really?
U.S. military put gum in the package.
Exactly. The gum is it is a help constipation.
Now let me ask you guys this question. Any one of you guys start eating your preps yet, or are you still going out to the stores?
No, I'm not doing that either.
Okay. Actually, my preps are set up on a rotational system.
Mhm.
So I'm always eating them. First in, first out.
Smart, yeah. Smart. I have freeze-dried food and canned food. The canned food, I rotate that, but freeze-dried food, 25 years, I just let that sit. But
yeah.
I've been dehydrating everything too. All my leftover meals, pasta, whatever it may be, I've been dehydrating it and putting it in a bag with some oxygen absorbers and having a nice little supply there too.
I've actually been tapping into my canned food a little bit because, like, here tonight I had canned chicken here. I don't know if you guys could see that Valley Fresh chicken breast because all the meat's out at all the stores,
Same here.
Yeah.
If you go watch my video, my walk through Walmart on Tuesday, you'll see my Walmart is pretty bare in the essential.
Check them out.
Well, the good thing is it's the essential stuff that it's out of, not the fluff like candy bars and chips. There's plenty full of that.
Right.
But it's the essential stuff that's actually gone. So my area has actually been smart in buying the right stuff, not fluff.
So one of the things that we were going to be talking about tonight is, and I'm glad you guys brought that up, is a survival garden. And people might be asking, well, what the heck is a survival garden? And Dave just mentioned it. It's your essentials and the best vegetables that you can put in the garden that's going to benefit you the most.
Yeah. Dave, did you see the message from Annihilator Airguns?
Well, my dear friend, I am just north of you. I am right next to Middletown. I'm not that far from a Walmart here. I can actually walk to my Walmart, which I do.
Yeah. Now I got something for everybody going on. Having to shelter in place, lock, whatever you want to call it. Tomorrow night on my Friday night special, we're covering how do you relax? What's your state of mind in a shelter in place event? And so we're going to be talking about how to keep from freaking out and getting cabin fever.
That's smart.
That's one of the reasons I started my Discord channel back when I did, is to build a community. And one of the things I keep trying to push, not only my subscribers, but I'll open it to anybody here, is I'll open my Discord channel, is to have a safe place. The only person that will moderate that is me. And I let a lot of things slide. I even have one spot for tin hat ideas. Everybody comes up with something that says, man, this is really out there. And it's a tin hat idea. That's the place to put it so we can discuss it there and not fill all the rest of the chat channels with stuff. But we're going to need to keep our mental acuity at 150%, so those around us will be safe. If we start to flip out, then those around us, including our neighbors, are going to flip out because they look at us like, well, you're supposed to be the calm one. You're the prepper, aren't you?
Right.
So
we're all human beings, right? We're all human beings. I mean, just because we're preppers doesn't mean we don't have emotions.
Exactly. And this is a place where you can come and share emotions because there's no government overreach. The servers are encrypted. And when I first started my Discord channel, I started uploading all my files, and I wanted a way for people to be able to search for the name of that file and find it faster. And I wasn't able to get it to do that, so I contacted Discord. I sent them a link so one of their guys could come into my channel. He said they can't. They are not allowed. Even with a link, their accounts are blocked.
That's good.
So even Discord can't come in and do anything to your channel. Well, they can shut it down, but they're not going to. Another thing I suggest is people use Proton Mail. The servers
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Servers are in Switzerland. It is encrypted between you and the person you send it to. Nobody else can read it.
What kind of encryption do they use? Do you know? Is it like PGP or something?
What's that?
Do you know what kind of encryption? Do you know what kind of encryption algorithm they use on that? Is it like PGP?
I don't remember right off the top of my head. I'd have to actually go back and look. But
it would be
explained when you go to their website.
Oh, it's right there. Okay.
So
yeah, it's worth it to check.
Is they're talking in the chat, about seeds and stuff, and if you guys haven't, you can use. There's a whole bunch of different seed companies out there. I know I've got a seed bank, and I think there's like 80,000 seeds in that one seed bank. And they hold, they're supposedly sealed up and good for 25 years. We'll find out if I ever have to use them or not. But we do
small town preparedness.
We really use our seeds because all my seeds we've switched over to mostly running heirloom, so we can take the seeds that we have from the last year, clean them, and put them away for the following year. That's what makes us sustainable or a thriving environment instead of, I don't have to dig into them extra banks. Just like Gil was talking about, he does a rotation. Homesteaders do the same thing because the cans or the canning process that we used last year, we bring them forward and we put the fresh stuff behind there.
All right, I want to address something from small town preparedness. Dr. John Campbell actually went over that today in a video. Right now, all research says, and this is current research, and of course we won't know fully until all the research is done, and that's not going to happen until we're done with this, just like with all the other ones that we've had in the past, which is why it blows my mind when people compare the two. But right now, research says that mosquitoes will not be able to carry enough to cause issues. So right now, that is not a concern. Right now.
Montana John Outdoors, you can have your same beliefs too. Obviously, in a 3 months time frame, he was saying back in the thing that this was back in January that it was in the U.S. It was actually in November is when it actually first got to the U.S. They didn't start actually talking about it until February.
They didn't know what to call it back then.
Yeah. The reason why we're using the name Red Dragon is because anybody that talks about what's going on, YouTube shadow bans them, puts them in the back, puts them in a hole, all that kind of stuff. So
demonetizes them and all that fun stuff.
Shuts their channel down, all that good stuff.
Now, what's interesting, also Montana John's, if I'm going to throw it up here again real quick. Come on. Okay, this guy here, Professor Michael Osterholm, you read all his credentials. He wrote a book several years back called Deadliest Enemy, Our War Against Deadly Germs. It's on Amazon. In that book, he used some of the scenarios he put out there. He used a scenario exactly matches what's going on. And it spread worldwide in 3 months because of airplanes. Now, the thing is interesting, too, is that on the airplanes and stuff, what they found out was the cruise ship that they were on. They took everyone off the cruise ship. They sterilized the cruise ship. They tested 14, 17, 21 days later. They're still finding live cultures of the red dragon on the cruise ship. On an airplane, I'm wondering why they haven't been testing airplanes where people have flown on. So if someone's on that airplane and they are contagious and they've spread that germ all over the plane, the next people for the next several days getting on there are picking it up and they're getting it and they're spreading it as well. That's how it can spread worldwide in 3. I'm surprised it didn't blow up faster than this because of air travel. I thought it would have gone in 6 weeks and been totally out of control.
Not only the air travel, but you got to look at subway stations. If you look at transfer stations, hub stations where you got trucking is going in and out. The guys are unloading trailers. There's so many ways that now, and of course the biggest thing is us. We're social butterflies, so we come in contact with whoever we talk to. So if you can do so many things in a quick hurry just by. You talk about New York. Look at the size of New York and what's going on there. That's because there's so many people in that area, and you can walk down the street and see 100 people within 10 feet.
Yeah.
And here's another little tidbit of knowledge for you folks. I'm sure you guys have seen on mainstream media where it shows them spraying the foggers in the streets of Ground Zero. Those foggers are because of airborne particles. Okay. They don't use foggers like that to kill little teeny microbes that might be a few little drops that's a few minutes old. That stuff is because it's airborne and lasts for days.
Yeah.
They knew it. They just didn't tell nobody.
Yeah. It's, the scenarios are out there. The problem is certain people, for political reasons, didn't follow the tactical response plans, which were written. The tactical response plan for this was written 15 years ago, and it called for that when it got to a certain point in another country, that we would shut down incoming aircraft from that country. Well, it got to that point, and we did not shut down incoming aircraft for that country because somebody had a political agenda and decided they were going to sacrifice Americans to get a certain person out of office.
Fun days.
Yeah, I know. Montana.
I would need to see a documentation of that because I have not heard of anything of that happening going back for last year, exhuming anybody for testing them.
If that happened, that'd be crazy.
Well, if that happened and got out on Fox, holy smoly.
I got it on any news station.
Mainstream media wouldn't cover it.
Yeah. One America might, but yeah.
Well, unless they could find some way to spin it against Trump and say it was his fault that it happened.
Yeah.
That's the only way they'd spin it.
Well, guys, we're going on the 3-hour mark, and it's 11:30 here.
Yep.
So I want to thank everybody. I hope you got some of your questions asked. I want to thank you guys all so much for coming up here and sharing your information and all your knowledge with us. And I hope everybody that was in here took some of this stuff with a grain and thought about what we're talking about, because it's coming. It's not just here. It's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. So I don't want to, scare anybody or anything like that, and I don't want to be a, fear monger either. But we need to be prepared for what's coming. And I want to thank you so much for the the mods in the chat tonight. They were working overtime with some of the stuff going on there, I saw. So thank you guys. And you guys all be good. Stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel.